Good evening and welcome to a new show. I am your host, Mr. Friday Night, Chris Brack, and I'm joined by my sidekick, Avi. Avi, they've left the two of us in charge. What could go wrong here, mate?
An absolute nightmare. But I'm sure we'll get on like a house on fire like we usually do. So
yeah, like Batman and Robin, Lauren and Hardy, whichever way you want to talk about.
Tom and Jerry, yeah. Albert and Costello, whatever you want to call us. Phil Mitchell and Grant Mitchell.
Oh, no,
call us all the names under the sun if you want, yeah.
We've got too much hair to be that, it's all right.
That's true.
So, cool. Right, so as you can imagine, season's over. I ain't talking about the Euros. I've made that very clear. So we thought for the next 6 weeks, we're going to have a bit of fun. So for the next 6 weeks, we're going to talk about European campaigns. We're going to go from qualifiers to the final and just talk about what it was like for us as fans watching these games. Because, you know, me and Avi, we go to some games, but we don't go to all the games. You know, so a lot of our games, we have to watch either on TV in the pub or, you know, for Avi's case in America. So just it'll be a laugh. We'll talk through it. You know, some of these campaigns end really well and some of them don't end so well, but, you know, you do forget, and even on the runs where you don't win the competition, there are some cracking games then. We can have a bit of a laugh and a joke. So we thought, let's start on a high. 2005, probably our best and probably most memorable European run, and probably most unlikely European run, I would say we ever did. So, how old were you when this started, Avi? About 12?
I don't even think I was in my dad's ball bags. But yeah, I was actually 13, so I remember it quite well. And I'm surprised you wanted to start off with this first, because they usually say save the best till last. But what a cracker to get on the first.
I'll be honest, everyone was quite worried about how our season was going to end this year, so I thought I best put a real high note in. Don't really want to start with Athens and upset everyone. So, you know, plus, you know, I get to pick the order, so I thought I'll pick my favourite first, and then we'll go from there. So,
you're the boss. You're the boss, mate.
So, 2004, 2005 season, I was in my last year at uni. Fucking hell, you make me feel old compared to you. So, let's think. So, early August, Rafa Benitez just takes over. And we have to go into a qualifying round, and we're playing Grazer AK in the Arnold Schwarzenegger Stadium. I mean, it's worth it alone just for the name of the stadium. I'll be fair for honest, mate. When I saw the team withdrawing it, I am gonna Scooby Doo where they were from, what they were like. He was like, I just hope we don't balls it up. We had that weird yellow kit, didn't we? Which look like been run over. Remember it? Yeah,
with like little black sort of marks, and I think the lettering was in green as well, wasn't it? It was a bit of an odd kit from Reebok back then as well. So.
It wasn't real. It just looked like the top had been run over. It was very strange. But the big talk about around that game wasn't even the game or qualifying, or else it was Owen.
Yeah,
Owen was named on the bench, but all the talk was, is he staying? Is he going? Obviously, we all know what happened in the end. But you know, it was a bit of a funny start to a game. But I mean, as the game went, we, you know, as you'd expect for Liverpool against that sort of opposition, pretty dominant, to be honest. At least, you know, it was Cissé's first real start for us. Missed a really good chance for us, which was probably a sign of things to come. But the only real quality in the first half was Gerrard's goal.
Oh, screamer! Absolute screamer.
You know, if the archetypal Gerrard goal, 25 yards out, just connects top corner, and you're just like, oh, that's just what Gerrard does. You know, it was pretty comfortable. But yeah, going to half time, it was 1-0. I think I was watching it. I was watching the student pub at the time, and it was. I'll be honest, it was one of those games where you didn't really pay too much attention to. You kind of kept looking on, oh, we scored anyway, because it shouldn't have felt like, but it felt a bit like it. You'd expect us to win it, and then second half, again Gerrard with another beaut set up by was it Harry Kewell putting it across. Cissé let it run, and then Gerrard just buries it.
Again, hits it first time, didn't he? And it went sort of across the net, like bottom corner. So great finish.
John's right. Cissé, we did think we thought we'd found like unearthed another Omri. Sadly,
he came with that reputation from Auxerre, didn't he? And he was supposed to come a season sort of before. And Houllier had sort of set that in stone that, you know, we're getting Djibril Cissé, but unfortunately, Houllier was giving his marching orders at the back end of that season. Hence Rafa coming in. So he'd come with a massive reputation, wasn't he? Like French's next best thing. So, you know, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. But poor lad had like 2 leg breaks as well, didn't he?
Yeah, we'll get onto that. Yeah, it's a strange one, 'cause the more you watch Liverpool and the Rafa, the more you think like Cissé's not a Rafa player.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, I think he's to burn his head out the amount of times Rafa used to go berserk at him and kick off at him and tell him what he was not very good at, which was, to be honest, quite a lot. But, I mean, who else played in that game? So we had Steve Finnan, we had Hosami made his debut. I think this one we were playing Steve Finnan right wing. That's like when Rafa was trying to keep us quite solid. He used to play Hosami right back and Steve Finnan right wing, which I don't know, never felt that worked with Steve Finnan. He was always better coming late on. I do wonder if Hosami was more to give Steve Finnan a bit of a competition, a bit of a kick up the arse.
He was Rafa's first signing, I think, wasn't he, for Malaga for like 2.5 million. He was Rafa, and then obviously I think we were speaking with Jabi and Luis Garcia. I think that was done just a few days before the Bolton game in the league.
Yeah, they both started against Bolton, didn't they? But they didn't. They happened. Kevin's on a great point here. Best thing about Cisse was he was Lord of the Manor of Frodsham, which is actually just around the corner from me, and he stopped fox hunting on his ground, which I'll be honest caused a right shitstorm. It was quite funny. But yeah, because the house he owned, well, I say house, mansion he owned, you got a title with it, so he became Lord of the Manor. Are you going to switch off in a minute? Is that your?
Yeah, I'm just got a little thing. I switched it off. Done.
There you go. So yeah, I do remember that with Cisse. It was good. He used to always appear. The other story I heard about Cisse from that neck was there was a Chinese restaurant in Frodsham that he occasionally used to go to, and somebody left a message there saying it's our kids' football team's awards due. Could he rock up if he could? You know, they didn't think anything of it. They just left a message to the Chinese because on the off chance he turned up.
Turned up with a bag of Chinese.
It just turned up with the kids. Just turned up with the kids show. A few months later, just said hello, handed out awards, stayed for pictures, and went off. So you know, fair play to him.
He was a good lad. He was a good lad.
Yeah, he's very.
But it was fine.
Yeah, he's very likable. He's just a bit of a pain. A bit of a pain, yeah. So I think, Harry Kewell started, which is probably a rare sentence these days, because you don't hear Harry Kewell start ever. But so it was a good start. I mean, so how do you feel after that? Were you pretty confident thinking?
Yeah, you think it was job done taking it back to Anfield, and I remember being in the home game, and you just thought, we should blitz this. It was a good little trip up. 3.5 hours took me to get to Liverpool. Pissed on the way up, and I thought, it'd be a nice little sort of home win, score 3-4 against Graz, and then get into the qualifying stages. But we know how it went. We went down 1-0, and it was a cracker goal, to be fair, wasn't it? And it was sort of like
Tokic, wasn't it?
That's
Croatia. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it, because to be fair, he hits it like a bullet from distance. Dudek's got absolutely no chance. But the mad thing in that game is Gerrard has 2 or 3 brilliant chances to put us ahead or equalise, and so does Cisse. I mean, it's a bit weird. I think Darren Potter started for us. I mean, I think it's probably the only game he got for us, which when you look back feels a bit mad. To qualify, you're only 2-0 up, and you started an academy lad who, he didn't go on to great things, Darren Potter, for us.
Wolves or something, did he? His next move went to Wolves or something?
Yeah. And the other random one is, could you name me the back four? Because when I saw the back four, it surprised me because I didn't realise one of these players played for us in that game.
Against Reds at home. So this tells you that I've not done my homework, so I'm going to go off the bat here.
To be fair, I've only because I've got the tab open and I've seen it earlier, so I thought it's a bit mad. I'll give it for you. So Dudek, Carragher, Risa, Hippier, Honcho. Which I thought he'd gone before then.
Where did he go? Didn't he go off to Blackburn after, didn't he? He went back to Blackburn.
Yeah, he had a big falling out, didn't he? With he had a big falling out with Rafa, didn't he? They just didn't go because he went no long after that. Because it was a bit of a surprise when they let him go. Because I thought you always thought he'd be a good squad option for Liverpool, but it just didn't happen with him, which is surprising. I mean, that also possibly the arrival of Jamie Carragher as a centre back, I think, killed his chances. But you always look back thinking he still would have been quite handy to have as a squad option. Now, maybe he didn't want to be one, or maybe the club didn't have the money. Maybe we had to balance the books to get Alonso and Garcia in. But look, we got past them, which, I think at the end, I think my thoughts at the end of it was, well, at least we're in it. My illusions beyond that was, at least we're in it. We'll leave it at that, shall we? So, let's hope for where we are. I think I was at uni, so I had United fans, a Villa mate, and I think we used to bet me in the United fan every year, saying like, whoever gets furthest, everyone buys the pints, and obviously I lost fucking every year because Liverpool got knocked out by Basel,
or we didn't qualify.
Or we didn't qualify. We didn't qualify, so it's just like, oh god, it's like a hollow bet that you just knew was never going to work. So Never mind. So when you saw the group, Monaco, Olympiacos, Deportivo, my thoughts were, do you know what? It's not the worst group. Monaco were a decent. They had young Adebayor, they had Evra, they had talent. Saviola. We'll come on to him. We had talent.
They've got to the final year before as well.
Yeah. So
you thought Jerome Rotten. They had Julie. Good players.
Ludovic Julie went to Barca, didn't he, off the back of that? Yeah. So you thought, right, Monaco, they're probably the favourites for it. But the other two, you thought, Deportivo, they were like always in it around that time of the years, but they never really got much beyond the group stage. So you thought there's a chance there. And you normally thought you'd have a good chance against Olympiacos because they don't travel very well. So you thought Liverpool should get through, should be not too bad. Needless to say, it didn't quite go that way.
It was us all over, wasn't it? Though we always made it hard, and I tell you what, it was a tough group because Monaco were a good opposition. I know we beat them in the opener 2-0, but then you go to Olympiacos away. It's absolute hell. They've got some fan base out there. They talk about that Croatian team. What's that Croatian team? That Red Star Belgrade. They think that's hell. You want to go to these Olympiacos games at the stadium in Greece? It's absolute crazy. It's up there with like Boca Juniors and whatnot.
Yeah. So look at the Monaco game, and so I watched this in the student pub, quite excited. There's about 4 or 5 Liverpool fans, so we all look quite excited because we're not used to being Champions League, just quite enjoying. It's a home game, so I kind of felt draw-wise, at least you got a home game, which is really, really good. So I think before we scored, the best chance we had was a deep cross by Alonso to Garcia, which if he scores it, it's like
beautiful ball in, wasn't it?
Heads it, and it just goes wide. It'd have been like
hit the side netting, didn't it?
Yeah,
it hit the side netting.
It'd have been one of the greatest goals I'd seen at Anfield. It just went wide. But then I think Gerrard puts it through to Cisse, and Cisse does what he always does.
He just blasted, didn't he?
Blams it as hard as he can. And it flew in.
There was no placement. He just absolutely belted it. And I think that you thought, it's his first goal at Liverpool. That was sort of like kickstart now, and he celebrates and whatnot. Good finish. Yeah. And you thought, okay, our campaign's off and running now. Yeah. And then obviously they were in it as well. Monaco were playing well as well. And then
they had chances. Adebayor was still a pain. He was a pain to mark. He gave Carragher, a good chance of, roughing him up and all that. And then I would probably say before the second goal, the other best chance falls to Garcia. And I remember jumping up thinking, bury this. Open goal, bury it. He puts it about 3 yards wide. It was harder to miss than it was to score. Garcia, he was just like that. 1 minute he'd score an absolute worldie, which we'll come on to later.
He missed the easy chances.
Or he missed from 2 yards out. He was such a frustrating player. I think there's always talk of Carragher and a few other players going to Rafa about Garcia. And Rafa would say to him, you've got to put up with Louis, he said, because he'll produce brilliance that will win us big games. I just can't predict when he's going to do it. But when he does...
One of the main players in that run.
Yeah,
one of the main players.
But he was such a frustrating player. But then we scored again with Barros, which...
Classy goal. A very classy take it was. I thought it was a classy goal. Nice little left foot, He was hustling and bustling, got the ball, and then sort of dinked it over, didn't he? But we just didn't have any... You thought, once Owen left, you thought Cisse, Barros, one of them will step up.
Well, Barros was the golden boot.
Yeah, the potential.
At the orders.
He had the potential, but it was a bit of a headless chicken at the best of times.
Yeah, I thought it was the most Milan Barros goal ever because he gets the ball, checks, should pass, checks again, should pass, checks again, and buries it. He was just the ultimate horse with blinkers on. That's just how Milan Barros played, which was brilliant in some cases, in which case they scored. But so many times just pass that fucking ball. That's just how I felt about him. Just pass the ball. There was just times he wouldn't. But look, 2-0, and you thought, right, we're up and running. 2-0, I'll take that. Nice and easy. Hadi Keel started that game. Interestingly, who 3 players played every round proper from group game to the end. Do you reckon you can name all 3?
Fucking hell, Chris.
On,
you've been watching this last night. You've been watching this. I was speaking on the top of my head now. Just remembering.
It's called research, mate.
So every player played in every sort of game and up until the final as well.
Yeah, ignoring the qualifiers, just played in the 6 group games and all the qualifying rounds and all the.
Kara's got to be one.
Yep.
Sammy's got to be one.
Who? Sorry.
Sammy. Hibia.
Yep. Yeah, and one more.
Oh, was it Risa? I'll go with Risa.
Correct.
Oh,
Ginger's the other one.
Absolute guess.
Finnan and Barros only missed 1, and Garcia played 12. After that, then there's about 3 or 4 lads on 10. So we'll see when we talk about the lineups later. There was some proper batty lineups we had to pick, and some brilliant ones. Basically, this is the birth of European Igor Biscan.
Mate, I wanted to do a little dedication to Igor, but we'll go into it, and then we'll have a little. I want to give him a little salute, Biscan, because he had his fair share of knockers. Knockbacks and whatnot, you want to call it. He played. I'm pretty sure he played all the quarterfinals, the last 16 semis, but didn't play in the final.
He did play the final.
Quite instrumental in a few games as well. Very instrumental.
Some of the group games as well. He was.
Deportivo, that little run, wasn't it?
Deportivo. So we go into that. We're all pretty chipper, thinking, right, we've beaten Monaco. Like you said, team got to the final a couple of years earlier. This is sort of looking rosy. So league-wise, after we beat Monaco, we lost to United. Shock horror. Beat Norwich, and then we went into Olympiacos thinking, right, Olympiacos away. This is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So when we went strong, we had Finnan played, Hippier, Risa, Hossamy, Carragher, Stephen Warnock started. So I think Risa went left. So I think we had Risa and Finnan on wings, and we had Xavi Alonso, Dietmar Hamann. No Gerrard, I think he was injured at the time. And then we had Milan Barros. So you thought, look, get a draw there. That'll do. But, I mean, they score after about, I think it's 15 minutes.
One of the worst. It was a great header, though, mind.
Great header. Not marked, but he puts the top corner.
One of the worst games that I've seen us. It just didn't feel as if we just sort of shit ourselves as soon as we arrived in the stadium. I think the only chance we had was Kuhl missed what looked like a sitter, but he was actually offside. I'll be honest, they could have won 4 or 5-0. Yeah. Rivaldo just teased us. Rivaldo, I think Torretidis was in goal, and I remember Giovanni, who played at Barca. He was there as well at Olympiacos.
It was had a good team. It was a humbling 1-0, and you kind of came out of that going, "This ain't going to be as easy as we thought." Actually, because you kind of thought Olympiacos might be the ones you could get 6 points off. So you were going into it going, "Ooh, right." So I'm going to say, let's see how we go. So we move on to the next group stage, and we move on to probably one of the most frustrating games. As far as it probably felt reminders of this season at home. Deportivo 0, Liverpool 0 at Anfield, where Liverpool could not hit a barn door. I think we had 3 1-on-1s over the bar, right at the keeper. Deportivo actually offered nothing. They were quite.
The less said about that, the better, Baraki. Come on.
They were quite.
That was a horrid game. But that's what it was under Rafa first season. He was coming with a massive reputation, had just done the double, the UEFA Cup, broke the monopoly of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and he thought, we're getting this team, but it took him obviously a year, 2 years to mold it into the way he wanted. It wasn't necessarily a carbon copy of the Valencia team, even later in his tenure, but he was trying to, and it was just, the league form, win 1, lose 1, draw 1, win 1, lose 1, draw 1. And the Champions League was like that early on. We got off to a good start against Monaco, lost against Olympiacos, to draw against Deportivo. I think he went back to the Riazor Stadium again, and we
but
won.
When you look at the side he played at home, though, when Barros and Cesar, Rafa going 2 up front was pretty rare.
Yeah.
Xavi and Steven Gerrard, Xavi and Hamann in the middle, and they had Garcia and Risa. So it wasn't exactly like, and Rafa was quite a defensive coach. For Rafa, that's going quite ballsy, 2 up front. It's just his forwards let him down, absolutely let him down. And then look at the guys we sort of brought on. We brought Harry Kuhl on for the last 25 minutes. Finnan came on for Cisse. That's very Rafa-ish, isn't it? And then, Pongol, who we'll come to later, got the last 5 minutes, but it was just mad.
I think Rajiv Kumar's just made a great point. Not a great point. It actually is a sad point. Deportivo in the 3rd division. It is quite sad. When you think about the players that have graced that pitch, Jalminia, Mario Silva, Valeron, Tristan, names just rolling off. Neighbour. It's quite sad.
Mid-90s, they were. Didn't they have that mad win over AC Milan a few years ago?
Yeah, they went. I think they needed to score 4, and they did it inside the first. Yeah, Tristan and all that. Great team, absolutely great team. Andrade, I think, who played in that Champions League game as well. The Rise. I think he's the one who scored the own goal. George Andrade.
Yeah, we'll come to that. So then, right, we're going away to Deportiva, and Liverpool's record in Spain is not the greatest. But let's go for the side they had, because it's an interesting side. Chris Kirkland, who played more games we think. Unfortunately for Chris, his season was curtailed with a bad ACL.
He's had really bad back injuries as well, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think it was a League Cup game. I think it was. He came out and just like a clash of knees, sliding out. But unfortunately, the way he twisted, poor fella did his ACL. I think that was pretty much his season done after the Olympiacos game. Then we had Hippier and Carragher in the centre. We had Hossamy playing. Jimmy Traore, who we'll come to, who actually has a big role to play in this game. Harry Kewell, Garcia, Haman, European Ego, and Milan Barros up front. So, now what happened between the two Deportivo games was we played Blackburn away and drew 2-2, and I was in the local watching this, and that's when Cisse had that horrendous leg break where I've been watching it, as in he ran down the wing, cut inside, and we all went, "Oh, get up! Fucking hell, what's wrong with you?" No one's touched it. And then this is before Sky clocked off. They showed the replay,
the screams as well.
And as soon as you saw the replay, you were like, "Oh, it's one of those vile injuries I've ever seen." Like, you kind of thought, "Is that career over?" Not season. Is that career over? Because it was a horrible leg break. So we're down to Milan Barros and kids. That's literally what we had up front. And European Ego dribbles through a few players, lays it off to Risa, fires it to Milan Barros, and the defender gets there ahead of him. We go 1-0 up, and then it is a typical Rafa backs the wall defending job. And Jimmy Traore, I think it's the second half, puts in one of the great slide tackles to get it away. Because when you first see from the angle, you're thinking, this is a penalty all day long. But he was very good, Jimmy. I always thought of a side slide tackle where he just get his legs around to get something. And now, occasionally he got caught out, but generally he did okay. So, so when you came out loud thinking, right, we've got 2 wins, 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, you're sort of thinking, not a great start, but it's okay. It's still in our hands. All right. Speaking of being in our hands,
the legend, the legendary is
Pete.
He's come back from his concert. How was the concert?
I wish it was. No, the domestic problems here out the back with drainage. So sorry, guys. If I was going to say apologise for the smell, but of course you won't smell that.
Yeah, we thought you cried off after the Istanbul moments of the quiz.
No, that was one of the great nights, I have to say. Listen, you have to enjoy it, whether you're on the winning side or the losing side.
So we're going to call you AC now, are we? Well, me and Keith Mourinho our way to the win. I mean,
call me Capu.
Yeah, I say me and Keith. Keith basically won it. I was a bit like the John O'Shea or what's his name? Jemba. I just appeared for 5 minutes, got one, and just disappeared and let Pete do all the.
You still get a medal, Brecky. You still get a medal.
You still get a medal, Chris.
I'll be like Costomy in the front, just shouting for everything. So that's me, right, Pete? So we've just beaten Deportivo 1-0. So we're just coming into the Monaco away game, which was hard because unfortunately before that game we lost Milan Barros as well. Right. And we'd already lost Cisse to a leg break. So we had a team of Chris Kirkland still in goal, Steve Finnan, Hippier, Carragher, Jimmy at left back, Risa left wing, Steven Gerrard was back, which was good, Dietmar Hamann, Luis Garcia, and then we had young Neil Mellor.
Yeah, I was going to say it was Mellor. I think Mellor came into it around that time, and I thought he done well for us, and he was particularly good in the subsequent games that we'll get to. Yeah,
unfortunately for Mellor, I think they played on his fiery temper as a youngster who was not quite used to playing Champions League. They played on it a little bit. So I think I was watching this in the student bar, and it was quite cagey, the game. But the key moment was the Saviola goal. Which, by the way, VAR wouldn't have given that today.
No.
It bounced up, cracks his hand completely. Great hand control, and he scores. The frustration was 3 players all went and ball, and not one threw a tackle in. It made it easier for him. But it felt like a game that was too far. You're just looking, going, "Wow, we've made that." We're hoping for a draw. Basically, if you got a draw, you thought it's okay. You're thinking, we're making that hard for us. And, especially after beating them so convincingly at Anfield, they battered up. I thought we were handsomely beaten. Although it was only 1-0, I thought they were much better. How were you guys finding it?
If someone in the... If someone in the comments can just bring up Neil Mellor's reserve record because he scored an awful lot of goals. I think he even beat Owen's record in the reserves. So if anyone wants to do a bit of digging and Googling, I'll chuck in a little prize as well.
Yeah.
But he had an astonishing record.
His record was the Kaiser, wasn't it? His record was the Kaiser, wasn't it? That was his nickname.
Yeah. You must remember, I mean, Monaco were an excellent side. They had been very, very unlucky to lose, to a very well drilled Jose Mourinho's Porto the year before. It was kind of their, they had a very, very strong side. So they're over there. I know it's not intimidating. I mean, it's a strange place to go, Monaco, even now.
It's on top of a car park, isn't it, the stadium?
Sparse crowds, but they're well funded and they're always well run. They've had great managers down the years like Arsene Wenger and Jean Tigana. It's always going to be difficult away from home, definitely.
Cool. So where did you watch the game? Can you remember?
At home in Dublin. I remember watching. I was living in Swords at the time. I had just moved home from London after all the burst of the music stuff that I was doing, and I was living in this really, really small apartment.
Do you sing? Do you sing? Do you? Do you sing? Do you?
A little bit. I used to.
All right. But, I've heard a rumor.
We'll do a little rendition later on, Pete. It's fine.
You can't afford me, lads. You can't afford me. But no, I remember I was living in an apartment. Anybody from Dublin will know, and anyone that knows Swords, the Wright venue where Wrights used to be in the middle of Swords. I basically lived in an apartment right opposite that. So I didn't bother. Sometimes if I'm nervous about Liverpool, I listen to it on the radio or I'll be behind the couch. But Wrights was full of Liverpool fans, and they had it on that night. So I had it on the telly and behind me. I just remember, it was a very anticlimactic night. I mean, it wasn't, as you say, Breck, it wasn't a great Liverpool team at all. I mean, to be honest, that whole journey, I don't know if anybody in the comments remembers, but that whole journey was like, the further we got, we were kind of, okay, that's great, but this is our lot. And we just kept going and going.
He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to believe it. Of course, Rajiv would know. Rajiv is a great stats guy. 45 goals in 44 reserve matches.
Superb.
Listen, I'm not saying Neil Mellor would have become a regular for Liverpool, but he was robbed of playing at a higher level with his knee injuries.
A lot.
Do you know what, though, Brett?
His knees killed. He didn't have the pace, but I do think he could have done a Prem career because he knew where to be.
He had. I'll tell you what he had. He had a bit of courage. That self-belief that a striker needs. He scored a goal against Arsenal in and around that time where you're kind of looking at it. It was about 5 minutes into injury time. You're kind of looking at it going, he's not going to shoot, is he? Even when it left his boot, you're kind of thinking, he hasn't shot, has he? He was one of those centre-forwards that would do things that you didn't expect. I thought he was a very good target man. His best chance for a career would have been, to beef himself up, but maybe get on he was a big lad, but get on the muscles and make himself a John Hartson type because he could smack a ball and on the turn.
He could have been Kevin Davis.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that disparagingly. No, he could have played. Kevin Davis had a very good Premier League career out of it. So, and I think Neil Mellor, actually, to be fair, Neil Mellor, he played more to his game. So he could have done Kevin Davis's stuff and more. But yeah, you talk about the Arsenal game. That was actually the game after. That was after we got beat by. I think that was after the Monaco defeat. I remember watching that at student bar, getting more and more drunk because it got to 1-1. Thinking, what's the fucking?
Were you watching all these games in a bar or something? Because every game you're saying.
I was 20. I was 21, mate. I was in uni. So so I've got to enjoy myself. Well, I watched them all in the bar up until the quarters, and then my beloved granddad managed to get tickets then. So nice. We'll come on to those. But yeah, I remember going ballistic when he scored because it was one of those ones you go, oh, what the fucking hell's got he doing? Yeah, because you're about to lap Bastille, and that's what you go. Oh, that's a bit nice of me. Quite like it. I like it when players.
We loved that game. It was around that time when we were stealing results from the likes of Manchester United. We were stealing. With Rafa, you always knew there was a chance that you'd nick something against a team that was perceived as being certainly better than you at the time. The thing I always liked about Rafa's side, Luis Garcia aside, Steven Gerrard obviously aside, there was never anything in it where you'd kind of go, he's a bit special. It was just the sum of all parts. I mean, Dietmar Hamann for me.
Xabi Alonso, but he got injured that season. He got injured that season.
But we didn't. But for me, it was just really the way he had us playing. It was hard to watch, very, very hard to watch. But certainly, against bigger sides. And that's the thing about the Champions League and the thing about Rafa's setup. The bigger the side, the more they should be afraid of us, as the competition kind of proved,
Yeah. So we went into the Olympiacos game off the back of a 1-1 with Villa. So not good.
Harry Kewell header. Wasn't it Harry Kewell header that one? Jumped
It
up
was,
and scored.
It was, but it wasn't. It wasn't the result we needed because it was Liverpool all over. It was so inconsistent. It was untrue. So went to the Olympiacos game. So we went with Chris Kirkland in goal. We had Finnan, Hippier, Carragher, Risa, Jimmy Traore. So Risa again, left wing, Jimmy at left back. We had Harry Kewell playing, Steven Gerrard, Xavi, Antonio Nunes, who had who did a job for us. And we had Milan Baros, but if you can remember, Milan Baros, I think the whole of his hamstring was tape. The whole of it. He had a hold of one leg that was just pretty much taped up. He'd literally been patched up and said, give me what you can. Stefan Honcho was still around. He was on the bench. Yeah. I thought Stefan had gone by this point, but it must have been January when they got him. But you look at the bench, we had Jerzy Dudek, fair enough, the other goalie that we had, Stefan Honcho, Hossamy, Stephen Warnock, Salif Diao, Pongol and Mella. So you were looking at that bench going, it's got to be the first team that winners for this, or we ain't got much of a chance in this. So again, as my nerve had gone for this, so I actually half watched the game and half kept playing pool and getting drunker and drunker because I couldn't. The tension had got I could have opened it, my bottle had gone. The tension had gone, so I kept playing pool and couldn't stick in my head and going watching 10 minutes, and then I saw the Hippier header which went just wide. And I saw the Gerrard flick, which went just wide, and I went, right, that's me done for a bit. I'm going to go back out. I'm going to go duck out. And then all I heard was free kick. So I ran in thinking, Liverpool free kick. Rivaldo free kick.
He's always going to score that. Always. It was destined for him. And if you remember, we were linked with him as well prior to the Milan move. When he went to Milan, then he came to Olympiacos.
But Rivaldo at the time was money. And it's funny, through my work, there's a lot of illegal things, obviously, that happened in Greece that brought players like Rivaldo there at the time. Yeah. And I won't mention any names, but one of the guys that we do business with in Greece, his father was involved in those deals, and he did time. There was a lot of money that was accounted for, that wasn't accounted for, and was paid offshore. Greece is a questionable country financially.
Still is.
Yeah.
Still is.
Well, the Ars fell out in 2008. That goes. Yeah. But Rivaldo was paid by this kind of this offshore fund, and I remember there was a lot of clubs. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers, but he scored the most amazing hat trick about 2 years.
Oh, Valencia, 3-3.
Yeah, the third one was the best overhead kick you'll ever see in your life. This was
right near the edge of the area as well. They need that goal for the Champions League football, 90th minute as well. At the death.
So when he comes to play against us, you're worried. We, as Bracky says, we're set up with very ordinary defenders, and his movements. I just remember him pulling us apart. For some reason, Olympiacos, after about an hour, I know we'll get to it. They just stopped playing. They just stopped playing.
They just hoped we'd run out of steam. I'll be honest. I think a lot of us thought they'd run out of steam as well. Yeah. So. To be honest, after they went 1-0 up, I mean, I still question the keeper a little bit. I mean, he does go over the wall, but he doesn't move. And you're a bit like, it felt soft. So you're like, so half time, for me, more pints were going down because I was like, this is UEFA Cup time. We're definitely UEFA Cup time. That sinking feeling you got as a Liverpool fan, definitely in the UEFA Cup. So, I mean, now Rafa, he wasn't renowned for being a brave coach in terms of his subs. But half time, he brings Pongol on and he shells Jimmy. So Risa goes to left back and he brings Pongol, and you think, and I was a bit like, well, you've got to throw a striker, haven't you? You've got to try it. And it's 2 minutes within, Harry Kewell
does from the left as well, wasn't it? He came from the left, Kewell as well.
Yeah, does his wing play that we haven't seen since the Leeds days. Cut back, and it's a lovely tap-in, poacher's tap-in. You thought, great, game on. At least we've got a bit of time here. But after that, it was a lot of huffing and puffing, but nothing quite happened. I think Harry Kewell had I always remember, from his point of view, a sitter for a header. A header that he should bury.
Harry Kewell, if you remember, was a superb header of football.
He was. And you were kind of going like, is that the moment? And then I think with less than 15 to go, Barros is done. He's ran his course. I mean, I was surprised he lasted 75 minutes, to be honest. He was absolutely on one leg. So he brought on Neil Mellor, and I can openly admit this. I was kind of resigned then, going, look, we've given it a go, but come on, we've got Pongol and Mellor up front, and we've got Nunez on the wing. We've just ran out of steam. We just haven't quite got the Garcia. We'd lost to a hamstring injury, and the previous game at Monaco. So you're going, there isn't a lot of creativity here. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do. The best player on the pitch, though, second half was Pongol.
Yeah.
His pace just irritated them.
He's brilliant in the box. He's a little busy being in that box as well.
Yeah, we brought Cinema Pongol and Anthony Letelek in at the same time, and there was a huge war. I mean, you've never heard. Well, you've heard of it since, but there was a huge push from about 26 elite clubs worldwide to bring them in from Le Havre, and somehow we got them. I mean, we weren't exactly. Don't get me wrong. We were coming off the back of Steve Highway's famed academy, and we were producing a lot of young players at the time. But it was a huge coup, and I think obviously Gerard Houllier had a big hand in that as well. But probably the two biggest disappointments in our history that we've ever brought in. But in fairness to Cinema Pongo, he had a couple of flashes of, okay, yeah, that's what he's supposed to be. Anthony Letelek never showed anything. But Pongo did. From time to time, Pongo showed what his potential was.
You know what it was, Pete, as well? You know why there was a big hoo-ha back then? We never had Twitter back then. We never had social media platforms. So we would rely on teletext, 302 on BBC One. Or Eurosport, there was a specific teletext on Eurosport, and it would say like, "Oh, Le Havre Wonder Kids, dubbed the Zidane and Henri of the next generation, linked with Liverpool." And you'd think, and they were cousins as well. They happened to be a family as well. Yeah. So you think, oh my God, Houllier is really, that does pay off to be French at that time, because we were buying them from Le Havre, which was a great academy, because obviously Pogba's from that academy and a few others have come from that academy. So you thought we've actually brought some gems. Letelek actually played well in one of Houlier's games in the UEFA Cup back then. He had a good game. He actually scored as well in that season of 2003-2004. And Pongol was sort of like in and out. But yeah, you actually thought Pongol in that game, Olympiacos, he probably was. Obviously, we'll get to the Gerrard winner, but he was brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Bolland's right. Pongol, he'd run through a brick wall for you. It was just he reminded me of German Darius Vassell for England. He always kind of thought Darius Vassell for England. He was never great, but you thought he was always quite handy for the last 10 minutes, and he'd be busy, and he'd sometimes nick a goal. And that's all you want from him, really. Pongol could have been that sort of player, really.
Yeah, he was very streaky. Darius Vassell would have 3 or 4 weeks where he looked like a world beater. I remember you'd watch Match of the Day for 4 weeks when he was playing with Aston Villa, for example, and he would look like Michael Owen. It was his finishing was, his pace was, he was untouchable. He was a strong little guy. He had a bit of bottle, he had a bit of nerve, but then he just disappeared for months on end. It was, some guys just don't have elite mentality. Might have elite skills, but just don't have elite mentality to keep it going.
It did. So we win a free kick. I think Xavi puts it in. Carragher does some sort of dying swan routine where he thinks he's hooked in the air. It's the worst attempt at a dive I've ever seen in my life. And if he tells me it's not a dive, he's lying. All the stick he's given some people, I tell you, it's ridiculous. But Pongol again, he's alive to it. Digs out the cross. Nunez, I felt sorry for Nunez. It's a good header, and first the keeper, it's a cracking save, and then it falls to Mellor, and that's what Mellor did. Striker's instinct. And they all believed, and you kind of thought, right, last 10, we've got a chance. One thing I did forget is, I think it was before the Mellor goal, Gerrard had that he got booked for a bit of a naughty tackle, which, to be honest, he should have gone for, but he got away with it. There's a cross came in. I think Barros bumps into one. At least he bumps into one of the defenders. Goes down like it's been shot. Gerrard shoots, and he goes under the keeper, and the ref disallows it for the foul. It's the worst foul I've ever seen. It's never a foul. So 2-1. How are we all feeling? Do we think? Well, we know Avi will think we're going to win because Avi thinks we're going to win every game. Were you still like that at 10, Avi? Were you 10 then? 12?
You know what? I swear to God, I'm not joking. As soon as Rivaldo scored, I thought we need to get one straight away. And then maybe, just maybe, we can. Look, we're Liverpool fans. You can't give up. Even if we need 3 or 4 in the second half. I just thought, we get one. and let's see what happens from there. But of course, during the game when Rivaldo scores, you're probably like down and out. Of course, you're downbeat, but no, you never stop believing with this team. And if you remember, Gerrard hit a beautiful volley, crisp volley, which went under, I think, Toledo's arms, but he got, I think it was offside, was it? Or there was a foul?
That's what I was talking about, where their defender walks into Barros, falls over like he's been shot, and the
hit it very crisp. And then
Rajiv's comments, it is funny because he said, "Can you imagine Twitter in those days?"
The Blues would have had a meltdown.
We finished 5th to the Blue. Oh, can you imagine? It'd have been glorious. So we've got less than 5 minutes to go. Ball goes out the wing to Carragher. Carragher thinks he's Johan Cruyff, does his version of a Cruyff turn, and he doesn't get enough credit for it. Mellor's header is perfectly cushioned.
Literally, Becky.
What now? I can admit this. I never saw the Gerrard goal because everyone's getting really excited. I couldn't get in. I ended up being at the back of the corner, so I stood there going, "What's going on? What's going on?" Thinking like it's 2-1, And and we didn't have the commentary. All I heard was a deep in breath, and I just heard beer go everywhere. It's only the next day I even saw the goal or heard the infamous Andy Gray commentary, which making a blue shout, "Oh, you beauty," made that goal. I mean, the goal was brilliant anyway, but that is that's the infamous line that you always remember. And I'm sure Andy Gray kicks himself still for saying that because we know his love for Liverpool.
Listen, there was a time, Brecky, when Andy Gray was the best. Listen, nobody likes to admit it. He was the best commentator in football, bar none. There was people until
his ego got to him. That was his issue.
There were people lining up to copy his style. Nobody had ever seen anyone that passionate or heard anything. There was a time. He got in the way of it, to be honest. And but the thing that was so special about that goal, there's two things. I mean, there's always a certain air of inevitability when Steven Gerrard runs at pace towards a football. But the way he cuts across it, because he approaches the ball at a very, very strange angle, a bit of an unconventional angle, and he cuts across the ball, which takes it away from the goalkeeper. I mean, A, to get that technique right, the timing right of a half volley. B, to cut across it so it's moving towards, but away from the goalkeeper. I mean, unparalleled. Steven Gerrard was just unparalleled in those types of second phase half volleys. You've never seen that like it in your life. Cutting across the football like that, just different. But
the thing is, it bounced beautifully for him as well. That header from Mellor, but that bounce. If that bounce had been a little bit higher, he goes over the bar. But because the bounce just, as soon as it hit the ground, he hit it. Boom. It was a beautiful bounce.
Abby, I'm not sure if if you watch it, the ball kind of bounces away from him a little bit. It's a lovely.
That's why he hits it across. That's why
he cuts across. Because Steven, again, them long legs of his, so powerful at any angle. Literally, I mean, it's just, I don't understand the debates. Don't get me wrong. I never, and this is going to, no, people aren't going to like this. He was never my favourite character because I always felt his demeanour suggested to me, why can't everybody be as good as me on this team? And he was probably right, but he made it obvious. But he was just, I mean, he had absolutely everything, but his striking of a football, whether he's passing it half the length of the pitch, but when he's shooting for goal, I mean, he would have been a world-class centre-forward. He would have been a world-class centre-forward if he had wanted to.
Just a point, I know we give them shit, especially Martin Tyler, because he's still commentating on Sky, but fair credit to them. The FA Cup 2006 final on Sky as well, their commentary was bang on. But to be fair, Martin Tyler and Andy Gray, they celebrated that goal. Let's not beat around the bush. They actually celebrated that goal. I think Martin Tyler said Steven Gerrard didn't want to wake up tomorrow being in the Europa League. Or whatnot. So fair play to them for that goal.
I think getting annoyed.
The only moment where I'll give them a bit of credit, Pete. So
I think that's why people get annoyed with those sort of commentators now, which you're like going, you're there to live the moment. So you're allowed to go mad. I remember United goals, and, as much as you hate the commentator for saying it, you go, that makes the goal. That makes the goal. I mean, I'll always give, look, if we're going different sports, if you're into your cricket, if you watch the Cricket World Cup final, when England win the World Cup, the guy who's commentating it is a New Zealand fan. He's an ex-New Zealand international. And his commentary is brilliant. It's not bitter, not nasty. It's perfectly brilliant. And you just get a lot of credit because you could tell when you've interviewed afterwards, that killed him. Absolutely killed him watching his country lose the final. But you don't know that. If he couldn't, apart from his accent, you wouldn't know he's a New Zealand fan. And that's what you're supposed to be as a caller. You're there to build, add to the moment. You're not there to put snide comments in and make yourself a bit funny.
Exactly. Well, it's it's a cultural thing as well. Things have changed. It's become sledging now. But look at Tom Boland's comment. What a hit! Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's part of the range now. The Daytrippers range on the website is the Stephen Gerrard "What a Hit" T-shirt.
That's a great
segue.
segue. That's why I've got you on, mate. Great segue. So, yeah, why can't you do segues like that? Don't forget, come on, the shop's open. We've got loads of new stuff in the shop.
To be honest with you, we need to push the Sienna range. We need to get people ordering for Sienna. That's the most important thing. Our own range will be there forever, but we need to put a few pound in Sienna's parents' pocket. So I would encourage anybody, go online, please have a look at our shop. It's on the website at lfcdt.com. And buy yourself something from the Sienna range. Every penny is going from Sienna, from the Sienna, what we collect straight into their pocket. So please, jump in, boys, jump in.
Excellent.
Just on that last game, just on the game. The best moment for me wasn't even Gerrard's goal or the commentating goal. It was actually the steward
hugging Rafa.
The steward who gave Rafa, and we hadn't seen Rafa show any emotions in that first season. No emotions at all. No fist bumping, but the steward hugs him and he gives him a little pat, like, yeah, you know what? Job done. Like, what a moment. Like, how could you not live for that moment? The steward's passion was us as fans. We just wanted to hug Rafa. Like, if Rafa was next to me, I would have bit him or something. But that was just the moment that you just wanted to hug him, and like, it was brilliant because Rafa, if you see it, it's a really classy touch what Rafa does. It might not mean nothing to anyone, but it meant a lot to me. He just gives them a little sort of tap like that. Absolute magical night.
Absolutely.
So we get past Christmas. We're not in the Europa League, which is brilliant. We draw by Leverkusen, which, as I remember my Man United friends telling me, what a buy, because of the clubs we could have had. It felt
maybe before that.
They weren't quite the side they were, but it felt like of the sides we could have got, it was better. But there was a bit of trepidation into the first leg at Anfield because we had no Gerrard because he was suspended, having luckily not been sent off. We had no Xavi Alonso because a certain large Chelsea player broke his ankle accidentally, apparently. So we were going into that game with European ego, which I'll keep mentioning, and Didier Man, came back to the side. But this is when, for me, Luis Garcia found his groove in the Champions League, because Luis Garcia was our top goal scorer. Was it top goal scorer in Europe that year with 5 goals? Yeah. And he didn't score 1 goal in the group stage. He only scored big goal games.
He came alive.
Listen, you'd never see. It's a long time since I've seen, and even before that, anybody play between the lines like Luis Garcia. A lot of people, there's a lot of people out there who don't know what that means. Just finding that little bit of space that is, for example, you've ever played centre half, or you've played defensive midfield or central midfield, it's that player who people are arguing over who takes responsibility for him. Luis Garcia caused havoc to big teams who should have had.
They couldn't contain him, Pete. They couldn't contain him. We'll get into the Juventus game, but his movement in that first game, we'll get onto the Juventus game, but just on the Bayer Leverkusen game, and just before that, we talk about fringe players and squad depth. Everyone in this whole ride, which was the Champions League win and Istanbul, everyone played their part. And Igor Bishtan will go on to him now, Chris, if it's okay with you.
Yep.
Absolutely monumental performances, home and away. He was absolutely brilliant. He had his fair share of critics, and this is a player who came from Zagreb, Dynamo Zagreb, I think. Came with a massive reputation.
I think.
But came and Barca was sniffing, the Milans were sniffing. We got him, and yes, it didn't work out for him, but even the Vladimir Smitzes, who was still in around that squad, and obviously we'll go on to that final. But he was brilliant in that first half. The first game at Anfield and away.
He was built for Europe.
Yeah.
A bit like Vlad.
He had the stature as well.
A bit like Vladdy. Vladdy was built for Europe. I think because the pace isn't quite the same in Europe. It's a little bit slower, a bit more technical. And I think that suited their games well. I mean, the through ball he puts in for Garcia, who just megs the keeper, is great. I mean, Sam puts here, Luis Garcia was our Origi of 2019. I think he was. He was the talisman for the big goals. But we'll go 1-0 up, and we forget they had excellent soon to be Liverpool player Voronin, up front, and Berbatov. And the talk was we were after Berbatov.
I think they had Oliver Neuville as well as a good player.
Because
Carsten Ramelow, good players at Bayer Leverkusen. They don't compare them to the 2001 team that got to the final with Ballack and everyone with Top Muller. But that team at Bayer Leverkusen, they were dangerous opposition. They were very dangerous.
Well, they should have been level because Berbatov was clean through, and he never said he just puts it wide. And it's a sitter really by Berbatov. I mean, Berbatov was the coolest man ever in front of goal. Right. Never missed. So for him to miss was always a bit like, oof, that's a bit of a. And then Risa found his free kicks. Found his free kick routine. I didn't know
keep out of shot. Keep out of shot.
Yeah, I couldn't care less at the time. So you're thinking half time 2-0. All right, it was more of a slog second half. I think Leverkusen came into it more. Dudek did keep us in it. And then look, I thought 92nd minute, Dietmar Hamann put us a beauty free kick in 3-0. You're thinking, right, happy days, 3-0. This is great. Who are we going to get in the quarterfinals? And then just typical Liverpool that year, we go 3-0 from the 92nd minute. The 93rd minute, Dudek just drops a clanger.
Howler, wasn't it?
Absolute howler. And you're going, 3-1. Then you're sort of going, 3-1's a bit with the away goals. You're thinking that
3-1 is work in Europe.
3-1's work. You're going. So you kind of came out of that game. I think I was at home at the time. Was sat there going, you've gone from being we're definitely in it, the quarterfinals, to we just give ourselves a mountain to climb that, and you're really anxious about that. So second leg. Where do we watch the second legs? Can you remember?
I think I was getting my nappy changed.
You were only a Chisler. I was in the old, not the Buttery Brat. At the end of there's a bar at the end of in the Grafton Street. Judge Roy Baines was absolutely rammed again, full of Liverpool supporters, and I remember having to kind of stand on a stool, which is a big no-no, especially for a lad my size. But again, wherever any bar that you went to, just absolutely rammed. And again, it was one of those where you kind of like, okay, because you're a little bit nervous about Leverkusen. They've gone far in the Champions League. They're a German side.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I watched it in a pub in Aintree.
Okay.
And I'd met this girl just before Christmas on a blind date.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
Want to reveal all before Mrs. Breckenridge watches tomorrow the highlights?
But she should know it was Mrs. Breckenridge.
Oh, brilliant.
I met her on a blind date.
You had that first sight, brilliant.
Yeah, and she didn't like football. Had no interest in football at all. But she said, "There's a pub around the corner for me. Let's go and watch the match together." Which I thought, fair play. She'd like football. She's taking me to watch the match. Can't go wrong. So we sat
watching. Mate, she's a keeper.
We went to watch a football in Aintree. Who were giving out free chip butties and at half time, at full time. I was thinking, so it's the size of me, like beer and free food, and a girlfriend who wants to watch footy with me. I'm thinking, life doesn't get much better than this. This is all right.
Heaven. I love that.
Heaven. So yeah, we go 1-0 up. Garcia again with Gerard Cross, and then the second goal I want to go into because Garcia scores it. But you know what? I was gutted. I was gutted because Biscan gets connection. I thought Biscan had scored. It's only the next day I saw the deflection where, in first, the Garcia, he does have to touch it, otherwise it's not going to go in. But I was gutted. I would have done that. What's that? So last minute podcast. Should have married her there and then. Chris makes. Well, I married her a few years later. So bless her. As Steve put. She'd have to be blind. She probably still needs to be there.
He's definitely punching.
Harsh but fair, So yeah, 2-0 up. I mean, to us, that's the most comfortable I think I've ever been watching Liverpool in a knockout stage because you're going, we're 2-0 up, so we're 5 we're up in aggregate. Even that Liverpool side, which is a bit ropey at times, can't balls this up. I think does Biscan get the last one?
No, Barros scores a good goal. Barros scores a very good goal, yeah. I think Krishnowick, the Polish winger for Bayer Leverkusen, is a very dangerous player for at the time.
He was their best player in both legs, actually. He was a nightmare to mark.
Good player, very tricky player, and he scores a goal. But Barros' finish in that game was very impressive, second half.
Did it finish 6-3? It was a strange one, was it? I remember thinking
6-2. 6-2 in aggregate.
6-3. I remember thinking, I know we've done this, but is it ever going to end? I remember thinking at the time. Do you know what I mean?
You guys remember we had a danger. We actually got knocked out to them in 2001. That run when we thought under Julia we could have done it, and Yari Lippman. He took Lippman off, and they score straight away.
He took Didi Hamann off.
Yeah, I still vaguely remember that game in Balak with a screamer and.
You know, it's funny. We were a better side.
Yeah,
that side under Houllier was outstanding. I mean, I think I said it the other night on the quiz. We should have cleaned the ball. I know we won 3 cups in 2001, but we should have that next season. We should have absolutely cleaned house. We had everything. Heskey, Owen, Fowler. We had those rolling options. We had powerful midfield.
Well, people will laugh when we say Heskey. People forget Heskey. This is not the Heskey we saw at Wigan and Birmingham. This is the Heskey who was confident. And to me, Heskey could do what Dromper could do when he was confident.
The problem was
Dromper didn't care. Dromper had that mentality of, I don't care how good you are. I'm going to floor all of you, and I'll take you all on.
The problem with Emile Heskey
he had that mentality.
But he had a huge confidence problem. I mean, I remember seeing an interview with Martin O'Neill. They used to have, when he was a young lad, they used to have to sit him down pretty much every week and pretty much tell him how good he was at Leicester. Listen, there's nobody bigger than you, nobody stronger than you, because he was hugely insular and hugely insecure. So you never really see Emile Heskey now. I think I've seen him on a couple of podcasts, but he's
heavily involved with Leicester Women.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an ambassador for Leicester, I think. So he does have a bit of involvement with Leicester Women, and I think that's his thing now. He's gone back to his home club.
A very friendly giant, though.
Yeah. One thing that
he just lacked for me was, which is surprising, was a little bit of aggression, a little bit of a snide side to him. I just didn't think. I think he just sort of missed that. If you had a bit of that about him,
But if you ask elite players, like if you ask,
they loved. We loved him.
Wayne Rooney said it for England. Emile Heskey was his favorite partner.
I agree.
That everybody loves playing with him because it's like Abby is saying. He didn't have that selfish streak. He was always looking, to for other people to benefit. It's a bit like, well, I'm not trying to compare them as personalities, but it's a bit like Karim Benzema. Benzema apparently is a very, very good partner for a selfish centre forward because he always does the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the football, Heskey, I always thought was like that.
I always wondered, and it's always that sliding doors man. Heskey was sold before Rafa came. He sold the same summer. I think we'd already sold him before Rafa came. You always wondered, what could Rafa have done with Heskey?
He wanted to sign him back. A few years down the line, he wanted to sign him back.
Because we saw what he did with Crouch. They're not the same type of players, but he wanted a target. He's sort of thinking that 2005 side, Heskey might have been more useful than Owen. I mean, we'll get on to laughing at Michael Owen anyway. Rajiv Kumar thought as well. Heskey was on Redmen TV. He was. If you've not seen it, Redmen TV did a mini series where they went back to being Liverpool managers, like champ manager 2001, and they played all the characters. How would you have got Liverpool to win the league around that 2000 period? And Heskey actually comes on and does a couple of cameos on it. Or he has Chris Pajak up against the wall saying, "You're going to get me my pay rise." It's dead funny. But Heskey's brilliant on it. So, and he does like a 5-minute cameo. But, if you get to see it, watch that on Redmen. It is really funny.
They're really funny guys, actually.
Yeah. So, right, it's 11 o'clock. We're into the quarterfinal stage. We've done further than I thought we'd get. So, quarterfinals, Juventus. Now, this is the big one because on and off the pitch, it's a very charged game, this. Thank Christ Twitter wasn't around for this because it would have been horrific. But this was heavily charged. Now I was lucky. My granddad was able to get me and my brother and him a ticket to the next couple of rounds. So I actually went to this game. I was in the old main stand. So I was there when the cop obviously put up the apology on the cop. And look, I'm not going to criticize Juventus fans. If you don't want to accept it, they don't have to.
But they do as a club. They're very gracious, in fairness.
Yeah,
I think there's very strong relations between the two clubs.
Yeah, I think there was a big section of the ultra, I think, who turned their back in it. Look, there was booing for that, and because it was quite charged. But I'm a bit like, if you don't want to accept the apology, I don't think they should be booed for it because there's understandable reasons why you don't want to.
I'll tell you, Chris. I'm sorry to cut across. What bothers me about that whole thing, in general, if I'm being honest with you, the 1970s and 1980s was a very, very dark period for British football in general. Now, don't get me wrong, it's horrible. What happened at Heysel Stadium it's the first football match I remember watching. That's how terrible it was. It's the first thing I remember watching, and it's what drew me to Liverpool, to be honest. But it was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's an awful lot of people that talk about Liverpool this and Liverpool that. There's an awful lot of clubs in up and down Britain, and I'm talking about from Land's End to John O'Groats, from Aberdeen, from the Hearts, Celtic, Rangers, all the way down to some of the bad boys in London. They've all got a part to play, and all had a part to play. They were all going abroad, and they were all causing things to happen. Heysel Stadium, the horrible tragedy, was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it annoys me that so many young people weaponize what happened to those unfortunate people. The Juventus supporters. Try and get at Liverpool. This was a British problem. This was not a Scouse problem, a Liverpool problem. This was a British problem, and people need to get that through their heads. Sorry, that's all I have to say about
Yeah. So let's go into the game.
Shouldn't have, just a quick one on that, and we'll move on. It shouldn't have even been played in that stadium. But
no.
Another
But
day.
I mean,
That's for another day.
if it's for balance, we did play our part in that, and not a part that our club could be proud of, but. There are multiple factors there, but Liverpool, as us as a club, we were a big factor of that. Sadly, that sort of thing doesn't seem to be happening in football now, which is good because you don't want to go back to that sort of area of football. So going into the game, Pavel Nedved made himself a bit of a public enemy, as I remember. Very disparaging about Route 1 Liverpool. I don't know why players do this sometimes.
games.
Mind games, but
Kicks him in the backside.
Yeah, they always seem to backfire. But I mean, you look at that side. I mean, you had
it was a world class team. Ibrahimovic, Zambrotta, Cannavaro,
defensively, certainly
Emerson, Zaleta.
I mean, Del Piero, and I love Del Piero.
Buffon.
Yeah, Buffon. But I love Del Piero from the Channel 5 goal. Channel 4 goal. I adore Del Piero. I think that's what got me into continental football. Watching that.
It was managed by, am I right? Fabio Capello was manager, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was Capello, wasn't it?
Capello and Nedved, Ibrahimovic, Del Piero. We shouldn't have gone through. Let's be honest. But we played them off the fucking park at Anfield.
Yeah, well, we say that. We started with
Scott Carson. He came from Leeds, didn't he? For $500,000. Youngster, wasn't he? 19.
European debut, 19.
And Anthony Letalic just behind Garcia.
I must admit, when we were I was in the main stand, and everyone went, Letalic started. He said, everyone, he's on the bench. He started. He's fucking what? Everyone went, really? Fucking hell. You're like,
desperate.
Wow. We're desperate because the actually more played up. Xavi Alonso was on the bench. He'd just come back from his broken ankle. So you're like, but like, as Rajiv Kumar rightly puts out, this is the Juventus side that made the final in 2003. I mean, it's a horrendous final. Probably the most boring final I've ever seen. But
in Manchester, was it? I think with AC Milan. Yeah,
0-0, and the keepers were running to the halfway line to stop penalties and all that. It was that's what brought in the keeps of a line rule that game. So we went into the game. We started brilliantly well, and then look, one of my all-time favourite players, Sam Hupia, scores a left-footed volley. That might be funny. If that's Robbie Fowler, or if that's Fernando Torres, or if that's Luis Suarez, that's on highlight reels. It's flicked on, and it's a first-time volley. Centre half should not be doing that. If Virgil does that, that'll be on highlight reels now for months.
The control he got on it, though, guys. The control he got on it with his left foot as well. It wasn't so much. He didn't hit it and pot luck. It was the control, and he sort of guided it into the net.
Exactly. In Championship manager speak, guided home by flashes up. Sammy Hippier? It was a super finish.
So I was in the main stand, Annie Road end. So we were in line with the cross, and as it fell, you went, you could hit that. And when it went in, the crowd, I mean, the whole ground shook. It was just like ridiculous. You're like, and Reese's celebration with Hippier, we look in disbelief. We're like, this is a mad, because like, this is Juventus. They should slap us comfortably. And then we keep going. I think Barros has a shot from distance, and then Anthony Letalic probably does the best thing he's ever done in a Liverpool shirt. But the only thing is flicks onto Luis Garcia, and do you know what? Luis Garcia will try that shot 100 times, and it'll go and he did, and he go high and wide. He hit that perfectly, and I think Andy Townsend is brilliant. He just goes, goalkeeper's beaten. He goes, what's he go? £50 million worth of goalkeeper. He's got no chance. The swerve, the bend. It's one of the great Anfield goals. It's so forgotten about. He
kind of sliced it as well. He kind of sliced it with that left foot, and it went away from Buffon. It was sort of like sliced away, and I think that was inside 36 minutes with 2-0 up, and literally fucking dreaming. Literally dreaming.
Luis Garcia Lewis, people don't realize technically how good he was as a player. This is a fella that was in the academy of Barcelona.
You
He was
don't
good
get
at Barcelona. That season before he came to Liverpool, he had a really good season at
very,
Barcelona.
very difficult to be there, and he fought his way through. This is a top technical player, and it was a strange one, because we needed, the way Rafa was, everything was so rigid that when you did have the ball and when it did break for you, you could see what Rafa was doing. You wanted someone who could make something happen instantly and very quickly. And Luis Garcia was just so typical. And I think it's why kind of Rafa initially, I know that people talk about Robbie Keane being foisted on him and it being a club sign. I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, he might have looked at Robbie Keane and thought he can do similar things in that sort of position than what Luis Garcia did. Robbie Keane doesn't need much of the ball. He's played in sides that didn't need much of the ball for him to score goals. And Luis Garcia was just so technically special in a flash. He didn't need to be on it much. All of a sudden, we had the ball back, boom, and he's doing something amazing. He was hugely
good with both feet as well.
Important.
Left and right. Well, he scored some belters with his right.
Well, Norman's correct. So, I mean, Sami Hyypiä that night controlled Ibrahimovic. And look, people joke about Ibrahimovic, but, this is peak Ibrahimovic. But when we go 2-0 up, we get some rude awakening then, because Del Piero goes through, Carlson makes top save, and then a minute later, he's beaten all ends up by Ibrahimovic, posting out. And I must admit, when my arse went at that point, I was like, you're thinking 2-0, we're sorted here. And then as soon as he hits the post, you all look. I think I was looking at my granddad, looking at me, we all went, oh, this is not as easy as we thought it's going to be. This is kind of, that was the wake up call. I think I woke up Liverpool, because I think we were getting quite giddy, going, we'll just go again and get another one. I think everyone went, oh, no, we have to just settle now. This is get in at half time and sort it out. Rafa was brilliant at play at Premier League place for the opening 15 minutes, get you 1-0 lead, and then we sit on it. That was his tactic. And look, Rafa will tell me it's a lot more technical than that, and I'm sure it is. But that's how it looked from a novice to me, was you blitz these European sides in 10, 15 minutes because they're not used to it. Football's changed a lot since then. But that tactic worked for us because we could do it. So half-time, how we all feeling? I was pretty buoyant, thinking like, wow. I mean, I could get there, right? I
thought we'd scored too early, Bracky. I thought it was one of those at Liverpool. I thought we've done this too early. These are going to come at us in the second half,
Yeah.
I remember thinking that at the time, we've done this too early,
Second half, though, is a bit of a damp squid, really. Yeah. Not a lot happens in a lot of the game. And then, I'll be honest, they score off the softest goal. And I felt for Cass. I felt for Cass. He's 19. Unfortunately, I know Scott went on to have a few more issues goalkeeping-wise when he got up. But headed down, it's not a strong header. He just bounces over his hands. And he's just like... And I must admit, when it went to 2-1, I mean, just checked back, it was 2-1 on 63 minutes. Yeah. But it's almost like, as soon as Juventus got it to 2-1, it was like both sides went, we'll take a 2-1, because I think Juventus were like, we could beat you at our place. And I think Rafa was like, I fancy me chances of nicking a goal at Turin. Yeah. So, do you know what? We'll all go home. So I went home like cautiously optimistic, because I was thinking in my head, trying to square it in my head, what would it be like if we go out? So look, Joe, if we go out, I can say I've seen Liverpool beat Juventus, because before that, apart from the 2001 run, Liverpool were crap in Europe. We never really beat many big sides. So I was thinking, this was a Juventus side that I think Juventus won the league that year.
Yeah.
We beat the Italian. So you think when you see the AC Milan side that we beat in the final, they weren't as good as Juventus. Yeah. So you sort of go in, and they said before that game, Juventus, I think, only conceded 1 goal before they played us. So to get 2 past them felt like an achievement. So we go to Turin. Again, I'm probably in a pub watching this, but the concern going into this one, no Steven Gerrard pulled his calf.
Alonso was back, wasn't he?
But it's Alonso's first game back from a broken ankle away in Turin, which it just felt like a bit of a task. So team-wise, we had Dudek had got his place back, because unfortunately Paul Chris Kirkland had done his ACL, and obviously Carson's a kid, so you've got to put Dudek back in now that he's fit. Finnan, Hyypiä, Risa, Traore, Carragher, so the usual back five, and Risa on left wing. Garcia, Alonso, Antonio Nunes, Igor Biscan, and Barros. Because I think that's pretty much all we had. I think bench-wise, we had Smith come back from yet another injury. Latalik was on the bench. John Welsh, remember him?
Yeah, I think he went
as well.
Preston, yeah. And then we had Darren Potter, and the big surprise was Djibril Cissé back in the squad. Which, let's be fair, with that leg break, most didn't even think he'd get back playing, let alone back this season. So that was a bit of a coup. But let's be honest, the opening few minutes they battered us.
What a character he was.
That game against Juventus, for me, and I know it was a dull 0-0, was an absolute clinic from Rafa Benitez. If you watch that rerun game, they had one chance early on, pretty much an open goal, but we absolutely played well. Barros should have actually made it 1-0 to us. But that was the first time where you thought, you know what, this fusion of Rafa's team, it's coming together. Like, you can see that his ideas up until that point, they're a little bit mishmash, but he knew, he fancied himself against a Capello Juventus team, and I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was an absolute clinic, that game. It was a 0-0, but honestly, guys, watch it because it will show you the kind of guy Rafa was, and the way he set his teams up. Organization was superb that day. Superb.
I mean, the way Rafa sets still as a coach, he manages not only the player and what they do, he manages their position and they call it attitude towards the ball, your positioning towards the ball, and who you're marking. So he will set you up in positions, and he will basically divide the pitch into quadrants, and he'll say, "This is your space. When the ball is here in this position, you tell me, show me where you should be." It's so drilled that everybody needs to know exactly where they're going to be in relation to where the football is. I mean, it doesn't allow you to switch off at all. And the great thing about being coached like that, because the Spanish do it as well, and I've been in a few of those sessions, when the game starts, you find yourself, when you don't have possession of the football, if you're a fullback, you find yourself squeezing. Just naturally, just being drawn towards the squeeze to make yourself difficult to beat. And then when you have it, you find yourself opening up. So at no stage do you ever switch off. And Rafa Benitez was the master. I know Jose Mourinho was fantastic at it, but Rafa Benitez, that was his team. I think when Rafa was in charge, we very rarely conceded more than 2 goals, even in defeats.
Well, I mean, we talk about that. I mean, put it to context now. We're now celebrating Klopp for four seasons now. Champions League. Rafa did that. Rafa did that. In fact, Rafa's record in the Champions League, his first while for us was final in 2005, final 2005, last 16, final, and it was, I think, 2 semis in there as well.
Semis in the Europa League as well.
And semis in the Europa League when he was
when
he wasn't very well liked for some of our fan base at that point. Rafa knows what he's doing in Europe. I mean, look, he went to Chelsea, won them Europa League when they all hated him. It shows what he doesn't get enough respect for what he can do. I don't think he's at that elite level anymore now. But at the time, this way you look and go, we've got a proper manager here.
I don't know, Bracky. I think if I'm being honest with you, the problem is players have more. Even the change between now and 2005, players have even more power than they had in the way. Apparently, Rafa, if you read Jamie Carragher's book, which I have, or Stephen, he didn't have a great relationship with Steven Gerrard or Jamie Carragher. They didn't particularly like him. They liked Houllier. They loved Houllier.
It's what made Gerrard a top player, though, Pete.
But they respected him. This is what I'm going to say. They respected. They understood what he was trying to get them to do. There was a period where Rafa, for example, refused to play Steven Gerrard through the middle. He thought his most effective position was from the right hand side. Because Rafa is such a good tactical manager that he's not. His thinking is, it's not your starting position. It's where you end up that is important. And he used to say, I prefer Stevie arriving from places where he's very difficult to pick up. And that there's a certain logic to that, and I understand it. But players' egos and say, no, I'm a central midfielder. The team is built around me. But Steven Gerrard scored more goals coming from the right for Rafa than in any
2006.
The two stories I've heard is, one was he told Carragher to start fights. Because he said, I used to do this in Valencia. Carragher didn't want to do it, but he wanted them to start fights to fire players up. But the interesting thing was, I can never remember one of the youth players was interviewed about Steven Gerrard. Said, what's he like as a coach? And he says he's tactically obsessed, he's drilled, and he's quite cold. As in, he said he can put his arm around you, and he is good at that. But at times he can be quite aloof. And when I thought, he sounds like Rafa. And I think Gerrard, as he got older, has realised Rafa got the best out of him. I think he realised the best he had to challenge Gerrard because he couldn't put his arm around saying you're brilliant because everyone knows he's brilliant.
There you go. Stephen Mack is saying Stevie G got 28 goals from the right wing under Rafa. That's what I'm talking about. Well, and he didn't. Steven Gerrard kicked up a stink over that. He didn't want to play. He wanted to play through the middle. But arguably,
well, we sort of see in the final how it went. Anyway, so I mean, the only other chance we had apart from the Barros one was we had the Hippier's header, where to be honest, I love Sammy, but he should have got on target. But then the most iconic moment I always remember that game is the Cannavaro header, where Jimmy Traore is trying to do some sort of dying swan routine, misses the header, hits the post, and Dudek just about gets it out for a corner. But that was in second half. That was their only real big chance. The only thing that pissed me off about that whole game was the commentary line that I heard the next day, which was, and England will have a team in the semi-final. And I was like, I can't give two shits. We've just got a draw in Turin. No one draws in Turin. No one takes points off Juventus, let alone knocks them out of the European Cup. And then the draw came, and I was going, please PSV. Chelsea, you let go.
It's a shame that Liverpool's run up until the final, it never gets it never got appreciated. We beat a top class Monaco team. We beat Juventus, who went on to win the league by 7 points. I think someone mentioned a Capello Juventus team. We beat Bayer Leverkusen, weren't a team to be slept on, and then obviously we met Jose's Chelsea team, which splits the league.
They were a monster. These were a monster, and these are already done as
mammoth teams. And it's a shame that people in the media, especially, didn't want to recognise that until we met one of the greatest Milan teams in my era.
And these are done us in the League Cup already. Yeah.
Well, no, Ruud Gullit, Rijkaard and Batten, that's the greatest Milan team ever. But these lads were no slouches either.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't born then, Pete. Come on, give me a chance.
If you need to, I tell you, dust off YouTube. Just have a look at Ruud Gullit alone. I mean, Marco van Basten, the greatest striker of football probably ever. But Ruud Gullit was but he could play anywhere. And his understanding of the game was unparalleled. He was quick, big, strong. And he, even as a man, standing in front of players with those big dreadlocks, 6'4", my hero. Him and John Barnes. But Ruud Gullit was just off the charts. So that was the greatest Milan team ever. But these guys weren't bad either. Definitely.
Yeah. So, Chelsea away. So, let's put as the context. This is the Chelsea team that they played at the time. Petr Cech in goal. Glenn Johnson, Claude Makelele, Ricardo Carvalho, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Gallas, Dromper, Gudjonsson, John Terry, and Thiago.
I mean, you could do a whole show on Claude Makelele alone. There's a position named after that man. Yeah. That's how good he is.
And the subs they bring on is Ian Robben and Kesman.
Robin, I think they've got in January as well from PSV that winter.
Yeah, so you would look at that side going, Christ almighty. Yeah. And then our side was Dudek, Finnan, Hippier, Carragher, Traore, then Risa.
Stop there, Chris.
What's up?
No, you should stop there. Compared to the Chelsea team, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Risa, Gerrard, Alonso, Garcia, European Igor again, and Barros. What's surprising is, and people won't think this, Haman doesn't start as many of these big games as you think.
Yeah.
And
He didn't start the final.
Haman's really crucial, but actually, people forget Biscan was quite crucial in these ones. It was a weird game because all the action happened in the first half. Realistically, where Frank Lampard, Dromper went through that stage where he was missing lots of chances that he was able to. Lampard misses a sitter. Headed down. He's about 8 yards out, balloons it over the bar. Our two best chances were Risa, where he dribbled and he just doesn't want to hit it on his right foot, and eventually hits it. What's that? Sorry,
there's a Barros header in that as well.
And then that's the other one, the Barros header, which is one of the best Petr Cech saves.
Yeah,
that's in all day, and he actually goes with his wrong hand.
He was going backwards, wasn't he, or something? He
goes backwards, wrong hand, and he tips it round. I mean, Petr Cech was always a brilliant keeper. This is when everyone looked and went, "Wow, what a!" But then the other kick in the teeth for a Liverpool fan was the Gudjonsson dive, which gets Xavi as yellow, and Xavi's out the semi-final second leg, and you were like going, and that really ground my gears because you knew they'd done it, why they were doing it, but you're like going, have you not got enough that you need to then take him out as well? But as Rajiv rightly puts out, Cisse came on and probably should have scored. He dribbles and he gets overexcited. I think he gets overexcited because he's playing again. And
I think that's the second leg he mentions. Cisse.
Yeah, first leg he should as well. He has a chance. First leg he should score, and it doesn't really happen. So that's not great. So we go into it 0-0. I think both coaches are happy because Mourinho's made up. He's not conceded the away goal, so he just knows draw. We're through. Mourinho could get that. I think Rafa was just like, look, we've not embarrassed ourselves. We've kept ourselves in the game. We all know now it's very simple. You have to win the game. Nothing more, nothing less, which probably, for Liverpool at the time, if we'd have gone to a game saying a draw's enough, I don't think that Liverpool side could play for a draw.
No, we never could.
No,
and 1989 proved that. 1989 against.
I know we did it. I know we did it at Juventus, but playing for a draw at home at Anfield, it very rarely works out. So I actually prefer the fact Liverpool needed the win, and plus Chelsea tied up the league the day before. So again, they had no distraction. So it was all on this game. Right, before we go to the last two games, bit of housekeeping. Smash the like if you can. That it does help. You know, we're now on the race to 20k. So if you could subscribe and get other people to subscribe, that'd be brilliant. And of course, the key thing is get on the website and look at the Sienna stuff. You know, if you could donate. If you can't, just share the link. You know, or buy some of the t-shirts we've got, which all goes to Sienna for Sienna merch. And the final thing is, we've still got 2 spots free for the PS5 giveaway. So I'll give you guys in the chat a little bit of time. I want you to tell me when we get to the final where you watched it and what's the funniest story you've got from the final. And to us, Avi and I will have a quick look and we'll pick two people. If we pick you out, you just need to email LFC Daytrippers@gmail.com just to confirm some details with Gav, and then you're in the draw for a PS5, which is happening shortly. So, you know, there's another incentive for you. Right, the big one. Chelsea at home. I was at this. I managed to get a ticket as in the main stand. I got there a good hour and 20 before the game started in the ground. It was bouncing. That is probably the most hostile atmosphere I've ever been in. People talk, I mean, the Barca 4-0 was probably the closest that's come to it, which wasn't at, but it was palpable, the atmosphere. It was vile. It was, you know, it was hostile. It was we're going to make this as uncomfortable. Chelsea team coming out, it was deafening, the boos, and you could tell they're not used to an atmosphere like that at Liverpool.
And they swallowed it because they still talk about that night. It's Frank Lampard talks about, John Terry talks about it. The atmosphere at Anfield, and they swallowed it. And good enough for them.
You got to remember that there was stories before this. Obviously, there was rumors not rumors. I think it was clear that we sort of rejected Jose when he wanted clearly to take the Liverpool job in that summer. It was
running down the touchline at Old Trafford. The board didn't like that.
The touchline. He became this sort of personality. The League Cup final, the Jardine goal in that League Cup final. You know, there was a little bit of stories there. You know, there were still rumors that Gerrard could even possibly join Chelsea in that 2005 summer. So there was a lot riding in this. There was a lot of things, but what a game! And Chris, you must be one lucky bastard to be in that stadium that day, mate.
I will say,
I'd love to have been Chris Pratt for one night on that night.
And I'll talk about the goal in a minute. It was like me, my granddad sat next to me, and my brother the other side. So my brother, he's 6 years older than me, so he'd have been, you know, just like get out of school age. Me and him went mad celebrating when that goal. But the funniest part of that whole game, and I can still remember now, is there's this big fella who came in front of us with his mate, and he had a big massive flag. So he put his flag up so he couldn't see the game. He said, "Don't worry, lads, I'll take it down when the game starts." And he was dead loud. He was dead jovial. He was giving them all stick. He was absolutely hilarious until we get to the full time, and I'll tell you what happened with full time. So game starts. It goes. The atmosphere is deafening. You know, we're screaming all sorts of abuse of Chelsea players. We're singing for everything, and then Gerrard flicks it onto Barros. Barros is taken out, and all by us, we're screaming for a penalty, screaming, and then I see Garcia running off. We're like, "What's that?" And you go, and then you've seen the scoreboard: 1-0 1-0 Garcia, and then we go mad again because it took me the next day. I never saw the goal because we were so mad shouting for the penalty and giving abuse to the Chelsea fans about it should be a penalty.
Well, I wanted it.
I never saw it.
I wanted
Yeah, Cardi. It should have been. Yes,
That's what I wanted.
Chelsea fans always scream "Ghost, go, Ghost, go," but fucking Czech would have got sent off for that.
Oh,
The rest of
And we would have got the penalty. So it was double jeopardy. What would you rather take at that precise moment? You'd rather take the Garcia goal.
Yeah.
I,
And let's
Even as a
face it,
Chelsea fan. Yeah.
yeah. But again, a bit like you, Pete, I was thinking like, oh wow, that's brilliant, we've scored, and then you looked and went, shit, that's early, 4 minutes. You're like going,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit too early, because we did same in the League Cup final. I think scored after a minute.
Yeah.
With reset,
Reece,
and that always felt we've scored well too early against a good side here, and this is when we're all going, this is going to be horrendous.
Yeah.
But it was horrendous, but enjoyable, because it was just singing, chanting, having a laugh about it, seeing loads of the ex-players, because the benefit of the old main stand was you saw, your Ron Yateses, your Alan Hansons, who were dead approachable, and they were in it just as much as we were. Don't kid yourselves that these legends don't get involved. They lived it more than fans do, and to be honest, obviously they could relate to it as well. So it was as it was mental. So where did you watch it, Pete?
Again, I watched it. My girlfriend at the time was working in Geordie's hotel. She was doing the Irish dancing show, so I watched it in Swords in the right venue, and my memory of that night was just we got battered for 86 minutes plus, and it was the longest football match I had watched up until that point, because when Liverpool scored early, my nerves to be just gone, because there's just that you're waiting for it. I almost prefer when we go a goal down against anyone, because I just think we're going to smash these now, because the teams always make the same mistake against us. They take their goal and they sit in, but we sat in against Chelsea. Now, don't get me wrong, Rafa, I said it, we all said it 20 minutes ago, Rafa is the man if you want to sit in. But my God, it was the longest 86 minutes of my life, watching this club. Honestly, it was, we talk about the chances that Gudjonsson had. We talk about Lampard. Gudjonsson's chance in particular, I remember thinking.
We'll come to that. Rajiv points out 2007 was a good game. It is, Rajiv. We won't talk about it today, but tune in next Friday, because we will be doing the 2007 run.
Oh, good. That was a great one.
I was a little bit older then as well. I was a little bit older.
Yeah, Abby can remember that one, so that's also a good one. So half time 1-0. I'm bouncing. I'm absolutely bouncing. You don't need a drink for that game. You're just so naturally exuberant about it and going. And their crowd, they looked stunned. I don't think they were expecting that. I think they were expecting them to turn us over, which, to be fair, deep down, I think a lot of Liverpool fans are thinking they're going to turn us over.
Yeah.
So, and so second half starts, and it's chances galore. I mean, I think Lampard has a free kick, which Dudek makes a very good save from, because it's late. It's late.
Dromper through the pitch as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Dromper seemed to think he could shoot from 35 yards. I kept kicking him over the bar, which are a bit like he'd forgotten what he was doing. I mean, I did hear some Chelsea fans after the game, and they were all saying, like, we need a striker who can keep his head. Because this before Dromper really kicked on properly, because the following year he found his aggressive Dromper level, which was
unstoppable.
Unstoppable. But, he was brilliant, Dromper. He may not have got the goals that his talent should have got him, but he was a nightmare to mark. I mean, he gave Jamie Carragher nightmares. But then sub-wise, we bring on Cisse for Barros for the last 30 minutes, pretty much like for like, just throwing a bit of pace on, and then they make a double sub with just over 20 to go, which is Kesman, who never worked for him at Chelsea. But
17 million quid at the time, which was an absolute fortune. And he just wasn't made for the Premier League.
No, because he was brilliant. He was brilliant. I think just thought he was their fox in the box. I understand why they got him. And then they took Joe Cole off, who didn't do very much, for Iron Robin. Again, I was surprised Iron Robin didn't start, because Iron Robin was, a nightmare for us to mark. More and more chances came. Carragher, this is where Carragher came his own. The last-ditch blocks, the throwing himself at everything, he was brilliant. Jimmy Traore, Igor, they all stuck in. Now, this is the one where this could have been Rafa's Houllier moment. 72 minutes, Harry Kewell on, Dietmar Hamann off. Now, Dietmar Hamann, to be fair, had ran himself still. But if it goes the other way, that's a talking point.
Yeah.
That's a brave sub for Rafa to take off. You're probably your best defensive midfielder.
Was he on a yellow card though, Brecky?
I'm not sure if there's any yellow.
Was he on
I
the
think
edge?
it could have been. I think it's because Cisse came on as well, didn't he, in the second half?
Yeah, Cisse, come on, yeah. I always thought though, Didi was pretty good at not getting himself second yellows. He was clever.
Discipline.
He was very clever. A bit like what Fernandinho is today. Fernandinho is a master of doing 80 fouls and getting one yellow. He's the master of it. It's clever play. Mascherano was very good at it most of that. Didi was one of the first that did it. Makaleli could do it. The clever players know when to take the yellow and they know when to do a foul that will never get given as a yellow or never as a second yellow. They know the type they need to do. But Cisse, he had two chances when he came on. One where he just gets it through Carvalho's legs and it just goes wide. And then right near the end, he has one. But I must admit, and then I think with 5 minutes to go, we take off Garcia and bring on Antonio Nunes. I think it's just literally run your legs off, lad. And then this is the one that shocked us. 15 to go. 15 minutes to go in football was a long time, plus the added time. Robert Hoof comes on for Jeremy, the right back, and he plays up front. Yeah. And you're a bit like, all the talent Chelsea have.
It happens to the best of them. He overcomplicated it.
Because to me, Robert Hoof up front is made for Carragher and Hyypiä. That's what they want. Big lump to go up against. They'd love that. That's not what they want. They don't want an Iron Robin.
From a manager's perspective, thinking is, if I've got two lads, if I've got a lad like that, it's not him that you want to get on the end of things. It's what he can cause around them. So you've got Robin on the park, you've got Kesman, you've got the little fellas who can get on the end of things. And at that stage, everything was going to go in the same direction. So you can understand, looking for a plan B. Plus, it's an unknown entity. How the hell do you go about? Well, you just have to mark him like for like. So Jamie goes in, tries to do the job, but all Robert Hooth has to do is get a nick off the corner of his head, and someone like Kesman or Robin is on the end of it. So you can understand the thinking,
Yeah. So 90th minute flash up, 6 minutes added time, and we all went a very lot of experience. What? Now that fella in front of me, it was loud, brash, dead funny. 6 minutes, we all went, oh come on. We went, where's he gone? Where's he gone? He's in front of us on the floor, on his knees, head down like that. And we went, so were you? He went, his head went 6 minutes. 6 minutes. He went, I can't watch. And that's big huge scout fellow going, come on, mate, we'll win it together. But that's what it was like. And this not like a, you could just tell it. Some people just went 6 minutes. They all went, head's gone. That's it. We ain't winning. This is it. You've seen the story. You know what's going to happen. The mad thing, and then I hate watching it, and I've seen it loads of times. Cross comes in, dude, it comes flying out like Superman. Takes out two of our defenders. Johnson flies past, and every time I watch it, I go, it's in.
Yeah.
I know he misses. I still think it's in. And Carragher still thinks he might have got a nick on it, but he always says, like, if I get a big nick on that, it hits Dromper and goes in. Yeah. When you watch it back, it was like, that was where you went, you could feel the whole crowd breathe in, going, and then the relief when he's missed, he's like, oh my God. And then still, it feels like time goes on, because I think there's still a few more there. And Cisse has like a one-on-one. And then completely balls it up. And then the ball falls to check, balloons it in the air, and that's the full-time whistle. And the crowd, it elated, it went mad. And the player reactions, everything, it was just hugging everyone. That big fella then pretty much broke me back picking me up because we got through. It was just, but you just didn't care, I always remember when we were at Garcia's, I was hugging my brother, like that, hugging my brother. My granddad's in the middle. I lost my granddad. He's like, get off me. My pensioner knocked him over. So, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't talk. I'd lost my voice for about 2 days after that. It was the best atmosphere I've ever been to.
It was terrifying. I hate Liverpool torture you. They put you through the ring, and that was definitely one of those nights. One of
the best moments of that night was seeing John Terry cry. It was absolutely brilliant. There's very few people that I think, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, unlucky they lost, but to see tears in his eyes was a beautiful thing for me.
Good enough for him.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll be fair. The few Chelsea fans we bumped into were actually quite magnanimous in defeat. They were kind of going, you had the game plan, said, we can break it down. And they just went like, said, what can we do when we've got Dromper who can't hit the barn door? And it was just one of those games. They just went like, look, it's not us. So you're like, look, which is fair enough. And it wasn't like you rubbing it in the faces; they were actually telling you, which was, quite magnanimous. Because obviously we do know Chelsea fans don't have the best reputation of being magnanimous when they lose, but the ones I met were actually all right. But yeah, so that was it then. So you're like, I want to see Liverpool in the European Cup final. I mean, listen, I thought Liverpool's peaked at 2001, which we'll come to, because I always thought European Cup finals, that's what my dad talked about. That's what my granddad talked about. That's what United did. We never did that. We were miles away from that. And the team we had, you're just looking going, Jimmy Traore has the game of his life. And you're going, Jimmy Traore gets nowhere near any of these top six sides. Igor Biscan gets nowhere near them. Nunes, I'd never heard of until we signed him. We got him thrown in as a joke with 8 million for Michael Owen.
I remember I watched Antonio Nunes many times, and I couldn't tell you what he was as a player. I couldn't. When you can describe a player and you can say, I remember looking at him going, I don't know what you are. I don't know if you're a central midfielder who's playing on the right, but you've no pace. I don't know if you're a right-sided midfielder who should be. I don't know what you. I didn't know what he was.
Right winger, we were told. Right winger.
No,
actually a good winger, but he was awful.
He was pedestrian. That's not his fault. Not his fault. He just wasn't at the level. I think he was the son of somebody important as well, to be quite honest with you. I'm not being funny with you. I think maybe because he didn't look like a player at all. That was the weirdest. That was a weird transfer. That was strange.
Stefan Mack points out Jimmy own goal, back heel, monster. It's the greatest. We can laugh now, but it is the funniest own goal I've ever seen in my life. Just literally, it's like Bambi on ice, wasn't it? Didn't know where his feet were. But that's what makes you laugh. But he had that low of he doesn't know where his feet are to this lad's in the Champions League final, and they're on credit. He wasn't there he wasn't getting picked at left back because we had no other options. We could have played Reece at left back. We could have played a few players at left back. He played well in Europe for us. He had his mad moments, but look, Jimmy did his job. So where did we watch the final then? Pete, where were you for the final?
I looked for tickets. I was doing a lot of work for Aer Lingus at the time, and I looked for tickets. There was another couple of lads on the floor who were Liverpool supporters. Everybody was shocked. It was the atmosphere was. We're actually going to get there, and we were quoted mad money, 1,750 quid for a flight alone, and then you couldn't get a hotel. Look for flights, so I ended up going to the Eleonora in Drimna, where I'm from. A friend of ours sadly had passed away 2 years before. A massive Liverpool supporter, so yeah, we watching the lads I played ball with at St John Bosco, myself, Stephen Bourne, Mark Jenkinson, and a couple of others. We went and we watched it, and yeah, man, we won't talk about what happened during it, but the pub was full, and it was empty. Then it was full again. It was that night very emotional. I mean, even thinking about it now.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I watched it in a cricket club in my hometown where I played hockey for. Packed with Reds, a couple of Blues that I knew in there, and one lad I knew from, I think it's a couple of years older than me from school, who's a United fan, sat there in an AC Milan shirt, giving it the big one. And you're just like, which obviously as the first half went, became more and more intolerable. But we'll see how the game went. So,
well, I'd say to any fans, before you say it, I'd say to any fans, have a look. There's a Chelsea forum transcript from that night, because Hernan Crespo obviously was a Chelsea player, but still a Chelsea player at the time. And there's a forum transcript. You can follow it. It's maybe a few pages long. It goes from 0 minutes to 120. And obviously it's full and joking about Liverpool, etc. And then by the time you're getting down, I'm sick. I just want to go home. I can't believe it's absolutely. Get your hands on that transcript if you can. It's the funniest thing you'll ever read.
Okay, so Stefan Mack watched it at his mum's and wrecked the gaff at full time. Fair enough, Stefan. Rajiv, best ever European story. He's not wrong there, to be honest. Aidan making me feel at home. It was a school night. Shut up. God, yeah. I actually had to study because I had exams a few weeks later for my degree. That wasn't happening.
Good Lord.
So it was me, my brother, and one of my mates. We all had the jugs of beer, and we sat together. So it was a lovely. I remember it being lovely and sunny in England. Then it was like a nice summer's day sort of thing. Right, what's going to happen next? We're thinking like, so the teams come out. So we'll go to Milan's team first. Excuse me a minute. Right. Dida in goal. Cafu, Maldini, Stam, Nesta. And that's just the back four. I was going with him after that. Pirlo, Gattuso, Clarence Seedorf, which is just ridiculous. And then we had Kaká, Crespo, and Andrei Shevchenko. And I'm going, and you think...
Crespo was on loan as well at Chelsea, wasn't he? He was on loan that season.
Not good enough for Chelsea. Mad. So, no, the Liverpool team came out. Now, I could have named the Liverpool team beforehand. We all could. And then the team came out. No Dietmar Hamann. Harry Kewell's starting, who's been in and out playing with injuries. Harry Kewell's playing as a 10 behind Barros.
Do you know why, though? Because Rafa fancied Kewell pulling off to his left-hand side and challenging in the air. He thought that Milan had a weakness. I don't know if it was on Cafu's side, that he wasn't so strong in the air, and he would get a bit like what people say about Alexander-Arnold now. He bombs on and he leaves that space, and he just thought that maybe Stevie could find him from that right-hand side, and that Harry Kewell was such a good header of a football that we might get some joy out of that. I remember reading that thinking, God, that's clever. Obviously didn't work out that way.
The cup final a year later, Kewell as well. He fancied Kewell for some reason. He fancied Kewell in the games.
Harry Kewell was a fabulous player. Just far too injury prone. He was too stop-start, but fabulous player.
And as AS puts, the bench wasn't bad either. I mean, they bring off the bench Yondell Thompson, Rui Costa, and Serginho.
Rui Costa was super.
We'll come on to that. We'll come on to them in a minute. But, so, yeah, I mean, the other thing Rafa I'd read about him was his mentality was, this is not a two-legged game. He said, I need to win it on the night. And I think he just thought everyone's expecting Didi. I want to do something different. And then I've got Didi to handle. And unfortunately, it backfires. And it backfires in a big way, because while I get the argument for what Kewell can do, what unfortunately Xavi and Stevie could not control Kaká.
No,
he had so much space.
He was in his palm, wasn't he? He was in his palm.
He was the best player on the planet at the time. I mean, he could have the ball through the middle that Jamie gets a nick on, and that Crespo for it's beautiful to watch.
Guys, this was Ancelotti's Milan as well. You forget that again. Ancelotti's Milan. He's a different manager to what he is now, to what he was back then. But they won it in 2003. And they're getting to another final in 2005, and obviously we know what happened in 2007. But fabulous manager back then, fabulous.
Avi, looking in the comments, is there anybody you fancy to give the PS5 to? Any names for me? Anyone put in a comment that you've gone, that'll do me?
Actually, someone put in a cracker.
Because I know, unfortunately, Avi's going to be leaving us shortly because he's got to work. Sadly for Avi's still working.
Yeah.
So me and Pete. So it means me and Pete get to talk about the final.
I'll say the name, or shall I just give you the name after?
No, tell us the name now. Who are you picking?
Last Minute Winner podcast. We've got a great one.
I think he's already got. Has he already got one?
He got one, and then Oisin McClinchy. He was in his mum's stomach.
That's not a bad show. You got to give him something for that.
Yeah. So Oisin McClinchy.
O'Sheen, boys. O'Sheen.
Jonathan, my brother-in-law went to the game and I decided to stay home. It was a great decision at half-time. Fair play.
So Oisin McClinchy, if you can email LFC Daytrippers, so it's lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com. Just answer a couple of questions for Gav. It's just, name and names and all that sort of stuff. Then he'll put you in the draw for the PS5. So that's one down. Me and Pete will sort another person out in a minute. So Avi, before you go, do you want to talk anything you want to mention about it?
Yeah, look, guys, 3-0 down. My mum and dad. I was watching it with my United mates, and they're doing the conga at half time in my living room. Not a big living room, but they're doing the conga. 3 of them, fucking mugs. And I was just sat on the sofa in silence. Literally, I'm not gonna lie, I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, "Fuck, man, this is gone."
Hard to take.
But as soon as Gerrard, who makes that goal is Clive Tilsley. Clive Tilsley makes that goal. Hello, here we go. And I think it was Townsend as well on his co-commentator. You just felt, oh, mate, we can actually do this. I've got to go, but like Vladimir Smitsa, what a moment for him. He had been compared to Berger, Nedved, that Czech sort of revolution. Thomas Rosicky was coming through, but he gets a final sort of chapter, and then obviously Rafa, the players, I think Morientes has joined in January, but he was cup-tied, but he was part of that celebrations. Pellegrini was great. Paco Aistran deserves a credit, Rafa's assistant. Great thingy. But one thing that we learned from Istanbul, I'm going to go football quickly, just literally 30 seconds, never give up. Literally never give up. I've seen people use this game on TED Talks out here in the East Coast, and they use this game specifically as never give up in life. Like, you have dreams and aspirations. Don't ever think that nothing is impossible. Watch that game. Watch that second half game. If you don't need to be a football fan, but just watch that game. The energy that transcended into this team from the fans who never gave up. They sang "You Never Walk Alone." Like, even if they knew they were out, they sang for this team, and the lungs and Steven Gerrard's sort of energy, absolutely superb. And that game, I can watch it anytime. Whenever I'm down or I'm ill, or feeling under the weather, put that on from first to from the start to finish. Appreciate that Milan team. Appreciate that team in that first half, because they were absolutely scintillating. They were absolutely brilliant. Second half, different kettle of fish. 3 goals in 5 minutes. The penalties, Cisse, he scores on the penalty. He scores one on the penalties.
Should Gattuso be sent off?
Of course he should have. Of course he should have. The ref shit his pants.
Very strange. Very, very,
very
strange. Straightforward decision for me. And that's what I'm always waiting for, the small things. I'm like, okay, where's the card? And sometimes you've got to be a little bit canny. You've got
because Carragher goes at the ref.
Carragher went out. He was the only one. If you noticed, he was the only one. Yeah, he's the only one who went to the ref saying, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" But it was amazing, and it was
because against 10 men we win that game in normal time.
Yeah, I think we do.
But Pete, I don't. But Pete, I think the story is that the story that is told is it's beautiful that it went to penalties. Look at that Dudek save. That was intervention from. I don't want to say it. I'm a man of faith, but that save, double save from Shevchenko, that was from something else. The way the ball loops up from the second header, it was amazing.
You could see that Shevchenko, his whole, just everything about him just went.
He was never the same. He was never the same.
Gone. The penalty. I mean, the way he stepped up for his penalty was like, I'm not going to score. I don't know. I still don't know what he was doing with his penalty. It looked like he changed his mind 3 or 4 times. Strange.
Yeah. And when Dudek saved that in extra time, that double header, and he was nodding his head like, I think we've got this. He was so confident that I think it's ours now. If I can save that, like reactionary, he thought it's ours. But no, guys, nice one. Chris, I'm so sorry. I thought we were going to go just past the hour, but we've actually gone nearly into 2. But brilliant. Next Friday we go again. Next Friday we go again. Unfortunately, we're talking about 2007, aren't we?
We are 2007.
So I'm a lot older. I was 2 years old. Better memories for that one. But no, great one. Have a guys. God bless. Everyone have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Nice one, guys. Thank you.
Cool. I'll get some stick in the comments here. Last minute podcast. I will put you in the draw for the other one. I had a list of people already in the draw, and I thought your name was on there, but it's not on there. So fair enough. I will also put you in the draw. I'll give them both to Gav. So again, just email Gav. LFC Daytrippers @gmail.com, and we'll sort you out the draw. Obviously, if you're already a subscriber, you are already in the draw. These are just giving you opportunities to get more than one chance. So, right, Pete. So, my thought was keep this tight, and we'll see how the game goes. 1 minute in, Jimmy, bless him, silly free kick, and it's a weird free kick though, because it's. Is it a routine or is it an underhit?
No, I think he's completely underhit it, and
Maldini does what he does best. So you're thinking, right, shit, 1-0, but come on, 89 minutes to go, and then I saw the Garcia. I still think it's a penalty with Nesta when he gets his hand down, but we don't react to it, and the ball Kaka plays to Crespo. He just went shit, 2-0, and I've listened to YouTube videos of this, and then when the third goes in and he chips it over Dudek, I think it's Alan Green from BBC, and he just goes 3-0 Crespo, and he goes, and this final's over. And I'll be honest, I had the mic behind me. He was proper buoyant, and I remember going to halftime. I think halftime everyone went to the toilet. I'm not a religious man. I've never prayed so much in my life, thinking just get one back. It wasn't even pray to win. Don't embarrass us, because I was thinking like, I don't want a 5, I don't want a 6, I don't want it to look stupid.
You don't want any records here.
Let's at least make it respectable. And you're also a bit like, you're also thinking, I thought it was written in the stars we were going to get this back. So you're like, right, Didier Man come on, and I must admit I was fuming because he should have started. Harry Kewell, he does go off injured. I think it's a 2-0 or just 4-2-0. There's different conspiracy stories about Harry Kewell. He didn't want it enough. His bottle had gone. From what I've read, he tore his groin off the bone. Now, I know he ran round after we won it and all that, but adrenaline does a lot for you. But if you tear your groin off the bone, I don't give a shit what you think
You're
of a
in
player.
hospital, mate.
You ain't playing on with a torn groin. It's just it doesn't happen. We've seen it today with Trent. If you tear your thigh muscle, you ain't playing on. So you sat there going. I mean, the funniest thing I heard about that later was Smeeta. They said, "Why isn't Smeeta coming on sooner?" He didn't have his boots on. Smeeta didn't think he was playing, so he sat there with his boots on, which probably shows what Smeeta thought his future was. So second half starts, and I'll be honest, the second half doesn't start very well. Kaka runs through again. Hippier takes him out. He's very lucky not to get even a card for that because he knows what he's doing to Sammy. It's another good free kick, and it's a good save by Dudek. So he's sat there going, "This is going to be embarrassing. This is not looking great."
Yeah, I mean, Dudek's had a very mixed bag of a final, to be honest with you. Obviously,
he does.
You're either the hero or the villain, but it's a pretty mixed bag. I thought, he didn't cover himself in glory. For any of the goals, and then the fourth Maldini's goal, he gets a hand to, I thought
not strong end, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then what do we have then? We have Risa tries a cross, doesn't get it. Second cross, and as Avi says, the hello, here we go. It's a hell of a header. I think Gerrard says it's his favourite goal. It's probably his most important goal that he's ever scored for Liverpool. It's some header because it's not an easy one. He has to put the power on it.
Looking at it, to be honest with you, Dida, again, is another strange goalkeeper. You understand why managers went with him, but he doesn't move his feet at all. I know he saves the penalty, but I don't think it's a good penalty at all. Again, Xabi Alonso didn't want to take that penalty, and that's obvious. I don't understand why Steven Gerrard didn't take that penalty. There's a lot of things about that I don't understand.
We'll come on to that later because there's some interest about that. So I must admit, when we scored, I half cheered, but I kind of went, it's 3-1, but, at least it's not embarrassing now. And then Haman gets the ball. Kaka's tying his shoelaces for some reason. Comes to Smeeta, and word for word, I went, oh, don't fucking shit, it's gone in. Because I must admit, Smeeta was not renowned for his shots from distance. And I was like, it was like when Lovren steps up for a shot from distance, you're like, oh, don't hit it. And Andy Townsend calls it right. The keeper dives over it. He should save it.
It's gone through legs, to be honest. Once it goes through legs, you've got a chance,
Yeah, but I must admit, that's when I believed we'd win it. When I saw, because I was like, he never scores, and he never scores from distance like that. And you thought, it's on. I mean, the emotion of Smeeta, it was just like where I was, it went berserk. Then you thought, it's on now. It's definitely on. And then Jamie Carragher, to his fairness, we're playing this back three. Yeah. Carragher was allowed to push on. It's a weird back three. It started as a back three, became a back six very, very quickly. Pushes on, and I think it's Barros. It's an underrated little flick he does into Gerrard's path. And I'm with you. Gattuso doesn't get booked. I'm surprised he's not sent.
It's a strange one. It's a very strange. I mean, the denial of a goal scoring opportunity was even an enforceable red card back then. Steven Gerrard is just about to pull his foot back and put his foot through it. It's a goal. And, Gattuso's done what he has to do. And I think Gattuso is ready to walk. He's ready because he's probably thinking to himself, okay, the keeper can miss it, and we might hang on. But
Carragher says Garcia says he wants it, and he's like, no. But apparently, it's been agreed with Rafa. He wants the Xavi taker because of his technical ability. That was Xavi Alonso's first ever professional penalty. What a time to make someone take a penalty. But what I will say is, it's a good save. But the rebound on his weaker foot.
It's a bad penalty.
I think it's a good save. But what I would say is for Xavi is the reaction for the rebound on your weak foot. I've seen plenty of players in that position balloon it. And it's bedlam then. Absolute bedlam where I am. 3-3. Now, I must admit, at 3-3, I went, great, we'll take this for extra time. And then realised all that happened in 6 minutes. I thought it was at the 85th minute when we scored the third. It felt that quick. And you were like, oh, shit, there's a bit like the Chelsea game then. There's a long way to go here. Yeah. And to us, Milan then just woke up. And it became Steve Gerrard playing right back and, players falling down with cramp. It was torturous. But we got ourselves to full time, which I was quite relieved with. And you think, and I was thinking, we were all saying like, well, we're going to win. We could still win this. But you were thinking like, right, no one can say this is embarrassing now. We've got ourselves back into. We got ourselves to 3-3 from 3-0 down. Normally teams do that. Is our name on the cup, and then they bring on Serginho, who was ridiculously quick, which is why they moved Gerrard to right back to contain him, because he was a nightmare. He was a nightmare, and we had no Steve Finnan because we'd already lost him to injury, so you couldn't ask Vladdy to play wing back and cover him because Vladimir just didn't have the pace anymore to do that. And then they bring on Yondal Thomason, who didn't work out at Newcastle. He didn't work out at Newcastle, but
smashing player. Smasher. I think he won European Player of the Year when he was playing for Feyenoord when they won the old UEFA Cup. I think in and around that period. So he was no mug either. You know, these are a proper squad. AC Milan.
Yeah, and then with 5 minutes to go, we bring on Cisse because look, Barros to be fair, so he didn't do anything in the game. He had nothing to feed off. Apart from Barros' biggest influence in that game was the flick to Gerrard for the penalty, which look, credit to him because he had nothing to feed off. I think. The only other chance we really had was, I think, when we got into 3-3 was, I think Risa took a shot from distance, which stung Dida's hands. But apart from that, so we go into the second half. The first half of extra time, only chance I could think of is the Yondal Thompson where he gets behind Traore, who doesn't see him, but the cross is just ahead of him. And you can see him point to Traore like, "I got you." But apart from that, you sort of going. There's not a lot happened, and then the second half, and that second half is horrible. Rui Costa comes on, who is ridiculously good player, very underrated. People forget how good. Again, you want to fun on YouTube. YouTube Rui Costa, ridiculously good player. The passing range of him is unreal. And then we get, and I can still picture it now. Serginho crossed it in onto Shevchenko's head. And you're thinking, goal all day. He saved it, dude. He saves it, and look, we're all thinking the same. He's going to bury this. 3 or 4 minutes ago, final over. It's like divine intervention because they always say keepers, you get your hands up, and I've seen keepers do that, get their hands up. I've never seen it hit that hard. And even Dudek says, he goes, I remember looking at the ball going, how high in the net has that gone? And realising it's not got in.
If Shevchenko miskicks that,
he goes in.
He goes in. He's caught it too well. I think, I've never seen a moment where a player's career just changed. That moment and his penalty, his entire career trajectory, it's almost like somebody made a comment earlier on that his soul was taken from his body. I mean, that's as close to the truth as you get. It's like his whole... Yeah. I mean, football's a confidence game for a centre-forward like him. And I guess that's the difference between a strong character and a weak one. People always thought he was the new Van Basten.
It never quite happened for him after that. I'm not saying they're the same player, and I'm not. But that's what's happened to Karius. Karius was not a bad goalkeeper. Look, he's never going to be a worldie, but he wasn't a bad goalkeeper. But he's never recovered from his mistake. No. And you also feel for Shevchenko. That's a lot of things people bring up with Shevchenko. People forget, he was lethal. He was like a feared striker. Everyone wanted him.
When he played for Dynamo Kiev with Sergei Rebrov, there wasn't a better partnership in European football. Yeah. Everybody in the world wanted to sign the two of them, but it was too expensive. They were just lethal. And I thought, to be honest with you, AC Milan missed a trick when they did sign him. They should have signed the two of them. Sometimes guys are partnerships. Should sign the two of them. I think he spent his whole career trying to find and replicate. Don't get me wrong, he had some good seasons with AC Milan, but they spent the rest of his career trying to find and replicate what he had at Dynamo Kiev. I never did.
Yeah,
never did.
I mean, we were talking about Dudek having a mixed final. Before that, Traore bails him out where he does he tries to shuffle the ball out and he puts it right in the striker's foot. And Traore kicks it off the line. I mean, Traore had a weird final. Didn't have a great first half. Was told shower by Rafa. Yeah. And then they found out Finnan couldn't last the full game. He went out of shower. Get your kit back on. Yeah. And it's fair to say, second half of extra time, he played quite well, Jimmy. To be honest.
Do you know what? To be honest with you, I like about guys like Jimmy Traore and Momo Sissoko. They're honest. I mean, Manchester United supporters, for example, they will criticise Fred because they don't want to criticise Pogba, and they certainly don't want to criticise Fernandes. But Fred and McTominay, they're very honest players, and they remind me of Momo Sissoko and Jimmy Traore. They're not going to be war beaters. They're not going to do anything amazing. But if you ask Jimmy Traore to go out and nullify somebody, and by the way, stick something on him, he'll go out and do that. And Sissoko was the same type of player. That's missed.
That's why I liked. I was always a fan of Lucas. Look, Lucas was never the greatest player, but I always say to someone, he's an honest pro, getting the best out of his ability. And quite frankly, I always say that's why I get frustrated with players who are brilliant, who don't get enough out of their ability. Just as about Sergio, he played for Tottenham, didn't he? I think so.
Yeah.
I think he also went to Westport. Aidan's point. I think he also went to West Ham as well. I think he did.
He did.
Never quite worked out for him. It probably didn't suit him. So penalties. Confident? Were you confident before them?
Yeah, football. I've always said this. I always say to Garbreen, football is about a number of things: confidence, leadership, and momentum. And it's very rarely that momentum will be broken. So, for example, if you go 2 or 3-0 up, and we call it in Spain a remontada, if somebody has a comeback, basically it's very difficult to stop that in its tracks. So I remember going into penalties thinking, I know what Milan players are thinking. They're thinking, we had this. They're all really, really going to be down. And with Dudek's and Tex, because you can see it was completely planned. And it's funny, that gets into people's heads as well. And you look at Jamie Carragher going over. Jamie Carragher deliberately doesn't give it that one and whisper. He's letting the Milan players know, we've got a plan for you.
Well, he said it's big because criticism was due there, because he said he's too nice a lad. Sometimes I said, I need to tell him to be a bit unorthodox. So first player sets up Serginho, and I think it's the worst penalty. I think it's worse than Charlie Adams. Yeah,
it just wants to get it over with. You can see it's that type of penalty. It just wants to get it over with.
Because it's high, it's wide, it's in the moon. It sets the tone. And then Didi Hamann steps up with that stuttering run up, which I hate. I hate players in that sudden run up.
Quality,
with his broken foot.
Yeah.
People forget that Van Olise, he's playing with a broken foot.
He's never going to miss.
No, so 1-0, good start. And then Pirlo steps up. Dudok gets in his face. If we're being perfectly honest, it should be a retake because he's practically stood next to him when he takes it. But look, the ref doesn't give it, and you go right. Cisse, I never doubted Cisse of a penalty. No.
Very confident guy. Confident guy.
Cisse, brilliant with penalty. And he'd scored against Villa last game of the season. Got his first goal back since his injury. So you're going right 2-0. This is getting easy. This Yondal Thomason buries it. Absolutely buried it.
And I was surprised by 2 things. I was surprised, to be honest with you, that he made it look so easy. And I was surprised at John Reese, because John Reese is probably one of the best strikers of football I've ever seen.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, when you watch it, he was the only one that went the other way. Everyone else went. It's a bit like Joe Hart. He can't dive that side clear. Now, one thing I will give it, while everyone gives, Reese didn't hit it as hard as he can. He hit it. It's a good save, though. He does get low. He does get down. It's a cracking save.
But he's telegraphed it. His whole body shape, he's telegraphed it. And Dida is down there. I actually think it's striking the outside of the post, even if Dida doesn't get there. If you watch it, I think it's
you can tell what he meant to Reese in the 2006 final, in the FA Cup final, because he leathers that one down the middle. But you see the relief, his reaction is like, that's what I should have done in the final. You can see that. Kaká, bless him. Dudek does the Grobbelaar wobble, not quite as well, and Kaká is never missing. The one I was worried about was Smica. I was worried about Smica, thinking I was like, he's got his goal, but I hadn't seen Smica take a penalty. To be fair, buries it. And he kisses the badge goodbye. I mean, that was his swan song. That was his goodbye for them. I mean, listen, if you're going to leave a club, it's not a bad way to leave a club. To be fair, but and then Shevchenko. Now, look, we could all say it's since he was broken after the miss, but I'll be fair. I was going, must be Gerrard for the 5th then. Because I was thinking, must be Gerrard to win it for the 5th then. It is the weirdest, tamest. He just tries to chip it down the middle.
Yeah, I think he changed his mind. I've taken a lot of penalties in my time. And the one thing, running up, do not change your mind. And it looks to me like he's second guessing himself. And he doesn't even strike it.
There's no conviction in it. So, and then as soon as he saves it, I mean, where I was, the cricket, it just went berserk. And he had like I had a moment outside when I sat outside with Rowan. We sat there, my brother sat on a pint. We both looked at each other and went, "They won the European Cup." He goes, yeah. He goes, that's just mad, that, isn't it? Because you can't take it in. And then my dad rings me saying him and my granddad were going to come up to the cricket club to celebrate it with us. I remember that saying to my brother, go and let me dad in. And this is how drunk we both got to. It was a double glade. It was patio doors. So he had to go into the pub through the patio doors. Didn't even know they were shut. Walked straight into him. But it's like the dump. He looks at me and goes, ow. Opens the door and carries on. Next day he feels it, but it was like a comedy thing. But yeah, I remember that, celebrating that with me. It was quite special celebrating that with me brother and me dad and me granddad. Obviously, like me dad and me granddad, they haven't seen Liverpool win the European Cup since the 80s, so it was quite special for them. But you always remember your first big trophy like that. So the UEFA Cup, your first Champions League. You just felt like this is just the most ridiculous season ever, because we were horrific in the league. And you look at the players we had, so it was great,
But the system that we had and the discipline, it really was all about Rafa. Don't get me wrong, it was about Rafa and Stevie's ability to produce big moments that absolutely just galvanised everybody on and off the park. I mean, the West Ham final, for example, man, I'm sorry, I remember thinking, this is Paul Konchesky, the horrible things that happened in that game. But for Steven Gerrard to come up with moments, the ball into Cisse. Did Cisse score in that game? I think Gerrard put it on a but Gerrard's goal, I mean, from 35 yards, when the fella is dying of cramp, he just had this ability to come up with these big moments. It's just.
Yeah, last minute pod says my dad set off all the machines in the hospital and the nurses came running when the penalty was saved. They thought he'd had a seizure.
Bless him.
Bless. See some mad stories how people got that. I think it was a couple of days later it took me to take it in, going, we've won it, because it didn't feel real, because it just wasn't a thing Liverpool did around that time. It just wasn't. You never fancied Liverpool for anything like that. You thought Liverpool get out the group stage, they've done well. So, for me, it's still, and I don't care if people say I'm biased, it's still the greatest cup final I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, you'll never see a remontada like that, quite like that. I mean, we were so poor in the first half.
Whereas, if I'll be honest, we will talk about it. The 2019 final in Madrid is probably the most professional and comfortable final I've ever seen Liverpool play. Yeah. That's the one final where I have not been on tenterhooks, on edge. It was quite. Not routine, but it felt.
Well, it's not even that. If you look at the chances that we restricted Tottenham to, I mean, Christian Eriksen has cut across a couple of times, and he's played a percentage shot in the only opportunity and the only space to be given. We didn't give them any big chances. No, there wasn't a moment in that game where you kind of go, if Son scored that or if Kane has scored that. No, they were all routine opportunities from areas where players can be contained.
Whereas
Harry Kane's not fit as well.
Whereas from the quarterfinals onwards, it always felt like it was full of jeopardy. It always felt like going, this is, one mistake, we're out. You just felt like that all the time.
I was at the new camp, Chris, to be honest with you, when we were beaten 3-0, and we were better than them. Now, don't get me wrong, the thing that shocked me, don't get me wrong, Lionel Messi, free kicks in the top corner. His first goal was a bit lucky because it's bounced all over the place. Suarez, in fairness, we fell asleep at the front post and he's finished well. But we were better than them.
Yeah.
I swear to you, we overran them. We outpowered them. Yeah, and Salah had chances, Mane had chances. We were, I'm not just saying, I'm not being one-eyed, but we were better than they. I remember thinking,
the difference was that
if only it was 2-0, maybe we could get this back.
The difference now was they were clinical. That was the main difference. They were clinical, we weren't.
Well, the free kick.
I mean, the free kick's ridiculous. But back to that final, I mean, you just thought this is the start of something special. I mean, to be fair to Rafa, it was, because we got an FA Cup, we were a regular Champions League side, we got to another final, which we will be covering. We came second in the league. He's in some ways, Rafa was unlucky that he came up against a ridiculous Chelsea side. I mean, that the Chelsea side of the 05-06 one was probably Mourinho's best Chelsea side, and the other thing came second was, I would probably say, the best Fergie side.
Well, I was at the whole game. I was at a few Liverpool games that year. I was at the Spurs game at White Hart Lane. where we lost 2-1. We had about 18 shots on target. Steven Gerrard rounded the goalkeeper, and he seemed to be on his own, hit the bar, and they scored to Roman Pavlyuchenko in the 93rd minute, and they were never in it. That's 3 points thrown away. I was at the whole game at home when we went 2-0 down, I think. Paul McShane scores early doors. Again, we were all over Hull. We should have beaten them 6-2. We drew 2-2. We lost that league, I think, by 2 points. And the 2 or 3 games that I was at home away, we dropped points that we shouldn't have. Yeah, but gentlemen, we dropped points.
Yeah,
we shouldn't have. That was it. We should have. And his own characteristic of Rafa. The one thing about Rafa is he wins games that you should win, and he gets results in games that might surprise you. That's the great thing about him as a manager. But his flaw that season was, it's harsh to call it a flaw. The Spurs game was an absolute freak. Spurs were relegation fodder until that was Harry Redknapp's, I think, second game in charge. He wasn't expecting to get at now, but Roman Pavlyuchenko couldn't hit a barn door. David Bentley had a very good pre-season, but had done nothing in the league. They had 2 points at that stage, and after that game they had 5. It's just one of those seasons where you kind of go, we were absolutely at it. And the other thing about Liverpool back then in 2007, 2008, I still didn't think that we were attracting the top level of talent. They weren't. Good players were looking at the way we played, and they were like, don't fancy playing in that system. I think that's and I think we missed, something a little bit more creative in the middle of the park. Maybe, because defensively I thought we were strong. I thought we could have done with a more attacking fullback and a world-class finisher up top to kind of
we never quite got it all at the same time, did we? Like, we got the Torres, but then we didn't quite get the fullback right, or we got the fullback right, then we lost the Torres. It was always robbing Peter to feed Paul. We never quite got the balance right, sadly. Now listen, it's 12:15 here. It's probably like 1:15 for you, is it, Pete?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's enough. So listen, I hope you enjoyed the show. So listen, if you're in our Discord group, please give us some feedback, because it's just a new idea. It's something to do differently in the summer. So next week, it will be me back. It will be Avi. We probably will be having Callum from Coppish, and we are going to go through the 2007 run. So we're going to do the road to Athens, which, yes, it didn't end the way we would have liked, but to be fair, though, there are some cracking games in that, and it's a hell of a good run. And to us, there's probably some more entertaining games than there probably was in the 2005 one. So the Arsenal games, the Chelsea again, more entertaining than the Chelsea ones, and there's more jeopardy in the Chelsea ones. So listen, thanks again for everyone for watching. Please like, please subscribe. But until next Friday, take care of yourselves.